Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Lettuce Head Fanfics. Back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Deku Had Nightly Raven Quirk. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. I couldn't believe this was happening. Why would anyone chase me? Me of all people. I didn't look appealing and I was just a kid. The thought of someone trying to take a child was unsettling. Fear gripped me as I flew just above the pavement, careful not to use my wings in public. It was part of my quirk, and I didn't want to get into trouble. I hoped no one would report me. If anyone deserved to be reported, it was the person following me. Why was he stalking me? It was seriously creeping me out. What if he wanted to hurt me? I could defend myself if it came to that, but I'd rather just run and avoid any confrontation. A 24-hour detainment awaited me if someone reported me or if I got caught. It had happened once before, and it was no fun at all. Sitting in a cold cell at a police station was certainly not enjoyable. They had caught me flying in a rush on the same day my father died. He had been the best dad anyone could have. My wings came from his side of the family. He had bat wings. I loved him and wanted to be there as fast as I could. Fortunately, they let me go after checking my story, and I only spent 3 hours in a cell, thanks to a kind police officer who understood my situation. I needed to fly faster, just a little bit faster. Please let me escape. Oh, how I wished I had my license right now. Then I could confront this person. Why was he still following me? It was pitch black outside as I flew as fast as I could back home from school. I was a first-year student at UA, my dream school, but it was far from where I lived, so I always got home after sunset. I never complained about it. The darkness felt like a part of me. My wings were jet black, after all, and I loved the night. It was calming. Just let me be. Nothing good would come from this. Why was he even targeting a student? I needed to be faster. Just a little bit more and I'd be home. The reason I wanted to be a hero was because of my late father. He used to tell me stories about his time as a vigilante. Back then, I didn't know what a vigilante was. I thought he was a hero. No matter what he was my personal hero. He made me promise that if I wanted to save people, I needed to get a license and be a real pro, not a vigilante. He said it was dangerous and that no one would back me up. That's why he wished for me to be a real hero. Why was that person so persistent? Just let me be. I was just a kid walking home after a tough day of training. Normally, I would take a leisurely stroll and enjoy the evening. However, this time I was panicking. Someone was after me, and I would have been brave enough to face them head-on if I hadn't been told not to strike first. I couldn't even consider that with my mom being a single parent. I needed to take care of her. So all I could do was run and hope they would tire of chasing me. Aizawa would have been furious if I ended up in jail or attacked someone like Bakugo did a few days ago. We had all been enjoying our time together as a class until someone called Bakugo a dandelion. That's when the situation escalated, and he punched the person, breaking their nose. He got arrested since police officers on break nearby witnessed the whole thing. What bad luck he had, but he needed to learn some lessons the hard way. Please let me make it back home. I was so close, but suddenly I was thrown to the side and pinned against the wall of an alley. No one was around, and even if I screamed, no one would come to help. Everyone knew it was easier to watch and ignore than to act. The more people there were, the less likely someone would intervene. No matter what was happening, I was definitely on my own. Oh no, please. I didn't want to end like this. I tried to escape the grip while using my quirk, but I couldn't. If I hadn't been panicking before, I certainly was now. There was nothing I could do to escape the sharp objects pinning my wings to the wall. At first, I thought they were knives, but I was mistaken. The size and shape weren't right. They didn't resemble knives or daggers. This was even worse. These things could only mean one thing. I was very deep in a twisted situation. Why would he do that? This was impossible. There must be some kind of misunderstanding. This can't be. While my quirk was essentially my black wings, I also had the ability to see in the dark and a sharp eye. I could see perfectly from a distance, and the wind didn't bother me while flying. Additionally, I could understand crows and command them. My wings were black and fluffy, which made me quick. They were the wings of a raven, and I loved them and my quirk. I took after my mother more than my father. I had dark green hair, reminiscent of a forest, and toxic emerald green eyes with a hint of golden sparkles. My wings were the only feature that reminded me of my dad. He used to call me his little fallen angel, and I called him Dracula. He loved vampire movies, and with his bat-like quirk, I understood why. Please let me go. I didn't do anything. I pleaded as the owner of the sharp objects approached me. The objects were nothing other than vermilion red feathers. It was the number 2 pro hero Hawks. As if I would believe the words of a liar, he retorted. Liar? Who are you calling a liar? I'm telling the truth. Why are you doing this? I'm just a 15-year-old kid. I exclaimed. This must be a misunderstanding. Was he on something? Did he mistake me for someone else? Did he get hit by a quirk? My luck was terrible. As I saw Hawks getting closer, I started to feel more uneasy. I could sense his anger radiating off him. It was only because I was part animal that I could pick up on someone's feelings just by being close to them. Desperation overwhelmed me, and I began struggling to get free, which only made the wound from his feathers pinning me to the wall worse. How could you do that? He demanded. Do what? You're not making any sense. I replied, confused. I don't know what you're talking about. Suddenly, blue flames began to approach, and I had to shut my eyes and hold my breath. Panic surged through me as I thought, Dobby, why is he here? But amidst the chaos, pain radiated from my wings, overwhelming me. Stop it, please. It felt as though I were burning and being skinned alive simultaneously. Each feather was painfully sensitive, the heat searing them away, the skin beneath melting, accompanied by an agony I had never known before. I screamed, unable to contain my distress. This was unbearable. I had never experienced such pain, and all I could think was why? There was no reason for them to be so cruel, yet here they were, the dream team everyone talked about. Hot Wings. Dobby and Hawks, both pro heroes, were not just a duo in name, they were a couple in their private lives as well. Their relationship was well known, with countless fans adoring them. Why? I gasped, my breath coming in heavy bursts. Tears began to stream down my face. The pain persisted, but I could no longer scream. My voice had grown too weak. I could only watch as they looked down at me with disdain. This is what you get for hurting our family, Dobby declared. I still couldn't comprehend what was happening, but I knew my injuries were severe. Black dots danced in my vision, and I felt myself slipping into unconsciousness. The last thing I saw was their contemptuous gazes before they abandoned me to my fate. But what family? What have I done? I thought desperately. I did nothing. Save me. A final tear rolled down my cheek as I lay lifelessly on the ground, convinced this would be my last moment. I regretted not being able to be a hero and save others. In the end, I had failed to fulfill the promise I made to my father while he was still alive. It was only after I blacked out that Dobby and Hawks returned home. That bee better not come into my sight ever again, Dobby muttered, his voice filled with anger. You saw the condition we left him in? It'll be a miracle if he survives that, Hawks replied, concern lacing his tone. It would be better if he doesn't after all he did. Dobby shot back, frustration evident. I miss our baby bird, Hawks said softly, his voice tinged with sorrow. Me too, Dobby agreed, his expression softening. It had only been a week since we lost our son to that horrific situation. Both of us had been away that day, leaving our 2-year-old son with a nanny. We had hoped to return early, but what we found was a nightmare. How could someone be so cruel and attend you? And in the same class as my brother? He deserved so much more. The nanny had been brutally murdered, her throat slit open. Our child lay in the center of the room, his stomach cut open, his wings removed, and his heart resting beside him. The scene was haunting, a flashback triggered by a black cat and a hawk mourning over their small baby chicken. We had just returned to find our son and the entire apartment in chaos. Babe? I called out, my voice trembling. It took me a few moments to regain my composure. Hawks knelt beside me, touching our son's feathers and gently closing his eyes. Tears streamed down his face, and I could feel the weight of our grief pressing down on us. "Kay." I approached him, my legs shaky as I fought to move. The sight before me left me paralyzed. "Kigo." Again, he didn't respond, but I could see the tension in his wings had dissipated, and he was simply crying. "Please, chicken, say something." I crouched beside him, knowing there was only one thing to do. I wrapped my arms around him, and that's when he broke down, sobbing into my embrace. I joined him in tears, and we stayed like that for what felt like an eternity before we finally pulled away to call the police. But first, we needed a moment alone. "Who does something like this?" Hawks whispered, his voice filled with disbelief. "We will find out," I assured him. "If I get my hands on them," he trailed off, his anger palpable. "I know. They will pay for this." "Black feathers. Do you think it was them?" Hawks asked, his brow furrowing. "Let's find out." We reviewed the CCTV footage and soon identified our black-winged villain. How can someone with wings like ours commit such a horrific act? Hawks questioned, shaking his head. "I don't know, but now we know who they are." The flashback faded, replaced by a surge of fury. I should have ensured he never recovered, perhaps even left a scar. I regretted not letting him burn longer. The image of our little chicken's state haunted me every time I closed my eyes. Hawks wasn't faring any better. After all, it was our son. The memories tormented us at night, leading us to drown our sorrows in bottle after bottle of alcohol, desperately trying to forget. At least now, that monster would never touch anyone again. Without a quirk, he would be treated like a quirkless child. No, even worse. I relished the thought of society inflicting double the pain we had endured because of him. The sheer miracle of having found someone to combine our two sperm to create a child, who was then born from a holder, had been one of the happiest moments of our lives. Losing our little chicken felt like losing a part of ourselves. We were determined to find the culprit, and fortunately, they had left behind black feathers and clear CCTV footage. The face and figure were unmistakable. "Why would he do this?" Hawks asked, his voice filled with confusion. "I don't know, and I don't want to know," I replied, my resolve hardening. "But isn't it strange for a UA student to do something like this?" he pressed. As I said, I don't want to think about it. What's done is done. We can't change the past, unfortunately. "You're right. But what if he dies?" Hawks asked, concern etched on his face. "So what?" I countered. "We could lose our license." "He isn't worth that," he said, frustration creeping into his tone. "Should I call someone for help?" I suggested. "How about his teacher?" Hawks proposed. "Good idea." As my husband had said, he wasn't worth losing what we had. We had already lost enough, and I understood how much being a hero meant to Hawks. I, on the other hand, was content to embrace my villainous side just to be with the man I loved. "You are too good for this world, chicken." If it were any other hero, they would have likely killed and tortured that bastard. This only highlighted what a great hero he was, and I would always support him. We hadn't yet arrived home, taking our time to stroll under the appealing night sky. Both of us could use a drink by now, as memories of our child flooded back. I needed to vent my anger, and nothing could quell the burning rage I felt toward that kid for killing our son. Before heading to the bar, I decided to quickly report the boy to the police. He hadn't suffered enough, in my opinion, and living without a quirk should suffice. "Happy now?" I asked Hawks. "No, but yes," he replied, conflicted. "What do you mean, no?" I pressed. "I know we took our revenge on him, but I don't feel any better. It feels like I did something horribly wrong." "I understand what you mean, but think about what he did to us." "I know, but still. He killed a life. He shouldn't be at UA, he's a villain." I exclaimed. "You're right. Let's go get a drink." The rest of the night blurred into a haze of alcohol until morning arrived, bringing with it an unexpected call to work on our day off. As I dressed, Hawks's words echoed in my mind. "Revenge. It really doesn't feel any better. But at least he paid for what he did. He should be grateful I didn't do to him what he did to our son. Our poor son." He should have definitely died. But why did it feel like we were the bad guys? He harmed our child in the most brutal way. The man was cruel. We had just saved hero society from a psychopath. I shouldn't be feeling like this. My gut told me I had done something wrong, but I tried to remind myself of how terrible that man was and that he deserved what happened to him. Hawks, sensing my turmoil, asked, "You can't get him out of your mind, can you?" "No," I replied, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. The BSTRD was 9 years younger than us. How could someone that young be so cruel? Nothing in his life indicated he was capable of such violence. We didn't care much about his past, but we did look into his situation. Midoriya had never had any problems with the law, and then he went on to harm 2 people. That's suspicious. Hawks nodded, his brow furrowing. The more I think about it, the less it makes sense. I know, I exclaimed, feeling the weight of the situation. Why would he do that? Psychopath, Hawks said, shaking his head. I don't want to understand their minds. Then why us? Why our son? I shot back, the pain of our loss surfacing again. Because we both weren't at home, he replied, his voice low. Then how does a UA student know that? I snapped, frustration spilling over. Stop asking me questions. I don't know. To hell with him. We both saw him do it, and we found his feathers on the floor. I know, Hawk said quietly. Now come on, we need to head out. Oh, but what about breakfast? He asked, a hint of mischief in his tone. Do you seriously want to eat something now? I replied, incredulous. Why not? He countered. Fine, KFC on the go, I relented. Just like that, we stopped discussing the situation, never to pick up that topic again. We didn't want to be reminded of our loss, and we had already taught him a lesson. Everything was done now. No regrets, even though we both agreed it felt wrong. Tsukachi sighed, counting down the minutes. Finally, just 5 more minutes, and I can get back home and relax. Just 5 minutes. Please don't let me have any cases in these 5 minutes. It's not like I work overtime nearly every day. Just let me rest this one day. I'll build a shrine if I have to. I don't care who I need to worship for that. The 5 minutes passed without incident, so he packed his things and prepared to leave. It was already late, and he was just about to head home when his phone rang. Sir, we have an emergency call from street. Someone reported a kid getting injured, a police officer informed him. Tsukachi sighed again. Let's go. He rushed to the scene, where a boy lay in a large puddle of blood. It was Izuku Midoriya. Tsukachi recognized his Quirk immediately, and the sight of him filled him with a mix of disbelief and anger. The boy looked so bad that Tsukachi couldn't tell if he was still alive. Who could do something like this to a child? It wasn't that Tsukachi was cruel, but he knew living with such trauma would be incredibly hard, if not unbearable. Midoriya would be treated worse than a quirkless child. If his parents weren't supportive, he wouldn't last long. Tsukachi hoped his friends would be there for him. He would need all the help he could get. He rushed to Midoriya's side and checked for a pulse. It was faint but present. How could this be? Anyone else would have died from those injuries. Get him to a hospital now. The kid is still alive, he ordered his subordinate. Without hesitation, the officer called for an ambulance. Tsukachi wished he could do more, but all he could do was try to rouse the boy. He wouldn't touch Midoriya's back or pick him up. He didn't want to risk making things worse. Crouching beside him, Tsukachi gently tapped the boy's unburned skin. Midoriya, he called softly. There was no response. Izuku Midoriya? Still nothing. Kid, please respond. Arg, came a faint groan. Stay awake, kid. I know it's hard, but you have to stay awake, Tsukachi urged. Minutes later, the ambulance arrived, and Midoriya was whisked away to the hospital. Tsukachi knew he couldn't accompany him. His job was to ensure nothing like this happened again. As he watched the ambulance drive off, he thought, "Stay strong, kid." Returning to work, he began to inspect the area for any leads, but all he found was blood and Midoriya's belongings. The boy's wallet remained intact, complete with cash, indicating he hadn't been robbed. There were no signs of a struggle, suggesting that either the assailant was someone Midoriya knew or they were strong enough to overpower him quickly. I should inform Aizawa about this. With no further information to gather from the scene, Tsukachi collected Midoriya's things and headed to the hospital where the boy had been taken. Upon arrival, he was immediately asked if he knew the child's identity. He provided the name, and the staff attempted to contact Midoriya's guardian but couldn't reach his mother. Tsukachi decided to try calling her himself, but she didn't answer either. His next call was to Aizawa. "Aizawa," the tired voice on the other end answered. "Do you know how late it is?" "Yes, and do you know I'm long overdue to be home?" Tsukachi replied. "Why are you calling me then?" "I have one of your problem children." "Bakugo?" "No, Midoriya." "Midoriya? What did he do?" "Nothing, he's the victim." "Say what?" "We found him in his own pool of blood, and he's barely alive right now." "Which hospital?" "St. Helen Hospital." "I'm on my way." Aizawa ended the call abruptly, and Tsukachi made his way to the kid's room to keep watch over him. The medical team had done their best, but Midoriya looked so fragile and hurt that Tsukachi couldn't help but feel a deep sorrow for him. He decided to stay until his old friend arrived. Thanks to a call from the police, Aizawa rushed to the nearby hospital, where he learned one of his students had been brought in. They informed him that Midoriya had been admitted and that they couldn't reach his family, hoping he could provide assistance. As he entered the room, the sight left him speechless. The amount one could lose in a day paled in comparison to what this problem child had endured. Upon entering, he saw Midoriya lying on his stomach, completely bandaged. All that remained of his wings was just the base. "What happened?" Aizawa asked, noticing his friend Tsukachi waiting for him. "I don't know. I found him lying on the ground in an alley," Tsukachi replied. "An alley?" Aizawa echoed, disbelief etched on his face. It was on street, and Aizawa hoped to gather more information. With a sigh, Tsukachi replied, "That's close to where he lives." Aizawa's heart sank as he recalled the news. He was ambushed on the way home. "When did this happen?" "Yesterday at around 11 p.m. By the time I heard about it, it was already 2 a.m., so yesterday felt accurate." On the way back from school, Aizawa's mind raced. "Does he have any enemies?" "No," Tsukachi said, disbelief evident in his voice. Aizawa couldn't fathom it. Midoriya was one of his best students, brimming with potential. Seeing him in this state broke Aizawa's heart. "Do you know who did this? Any leads?" Aizawa pressed. "No. So they might also target my other students?" "That might be the case. I'll inform Nizu about that." "I already did." "Then why am I here?" "I couldn't reach his contact person, and since he is in your class, I called you." Another sigh escaped Aizawa as a nurse entered, asking for the patient's information. Tsukachi smiled at Aizawa. "At least bring me some coffee while I do this." Aizawa said. "Sure." Tsukachi replied. While Aizawa filled out the papers, Tsukachi returned with 2 cups of dark coffee. Aizawa was grateful, knowing he needed to find Midoriya's parents to inform them about his condition. Once he found the address, Aizawa went to Midoriya's home and knocked on the door. At first, there was no response, but on the second knock, a woman opened the door. "Are you Inko Midoriya?" Aizawa asked. "Yes, why?" she replied, concern etched on her face. "Your son is currently hospitalized." "Oh my gosh. What happened?" "We don't know the details yet, but he was ambushed on his way home." "How's his condition?" "He is stable at the moment, but he may never fully regain the use of his quirk." Aizawa noticed a quick change in her demeanor. She looked devastated, especially after he mentioned her son's quirk. "Oh, and he always wanted to attend UA. What should I do now?" "He can still attend UA. I suggest moving him to a different department." "I see. That's good to hear. I'm sure he will like that idea." "It's tragic what happened, but I believe that since he is such a good student, moving him to the general education course would benefit him." "I will think about it." Aizawa sighed. "I'll be going then." The mother looked at him in shock, her expression revealing the weight of his words. Midoriya had been one of the best in Aizawa's class. While he wouldn't call him his favorite, Midoriya was certainly one of the more grounded students. making him a promising hero. It was a shame that he might have to retire before even debuting as a real hero. After that, Aizawa went directly home, where he found his husband and adoptive son, Shinso. "What's wrong with you?" Mike asked. "One of my students is hospitalized and lost their quirk." "How is that possible? Who was it?" Hitoshi inquired. "Izuku Midoriya." "He lost his wings?" Mick's voice was filled with disbelief. "Yes." "Can I see him?" Hitoshi asked, concern evident in his eyes. Aizawa knew that Hitoshi was Midoriya's closest friend, having supported him through many challenges. He was grateful for that bond, but the tragedy of the situation weighed heavily on him. There was little to say that could ease the pain. "He is in intensive care for now. It was a privilege that I got to see him." "So, what happened?" Mike asked. "He was ambushed on his way home. Other students in my class may also be in danger. Tsukachi doesn't know the cause yet." "That's horrible. How does his mother cope with that?" Mick's voice was filled with sympathy. "Not well. No wonder. Hearing that her son barely survived and lost his quirk. Poor thing." Hitoshi's voice was soft. "Will he be able to stay in the hero class? With the injuries he has? It would be impossible. He needs time to heal." "Poor little listener," Mike echoed. "Aizu. Papa, can you move him into the same class as me?" Hitoshi asked, hope flickering in his eyes. "I suggested that to his mother," Aizawa replied. "What did she say?" "Not much." An uncomfortable silence fell over them. Mike and Aizawa both understood how much Hitoshi wanted to help Midoriya. After all, Izuku was the reason Hitoshi was still alive. It wasn't the first time Hitoshi had struggled, but each time, Midoriya had been there to support him even before they adopted him. Now, seeing Midoriya's condition, Aizawa knew Hitoshi wanted to do something to help his friend, but for now, there was nothing they could do. Midoriya needed time to heal. All Might's POV. "I couldn't believe my friend told me not to worry about her child. What was that supposed to mean? I expected him to say something that would make the boy obedient and stop pestering his mother. How could he say he wouldn't be around her for long?" Frustrated, I returned home to the only woman I loved, who knew my secret of being All Might. I felt like I could give her everything, but not her son. That kid was driving me mad. As I entered our house, I found Inko sitting on the couch, and I immediately sensed something was wrong. Something was different. She usually prepared dinner for us, but there were only 2 servings at the table. Why was she just sitting there? If that kid did anything to upset her, I would confront him personally. "My love, what happened?" I asked, concern flooding my voice. Inko replied, "Izuku lost his wings." "That kid did?" "Yes. He is now as good as quirkless." The tone in her voice was different. She usually smiled when talking about him, but not this time. Her gaze was distant, and her voice was cold. "Are you okay?" "Best worried." "I don't know what to do with someone that useless," she exclaimed. "How about putting him in an orphanage?" I suggested. "You think they will take something like that?" she retorted. "I know they accept quirkless children. But he is worse. He had a quirk and lost it." "There's one orphanage I know that could take him in," I insisted. "Are you sure?" "Yes." "I'm glad you're by my side," she said, her voice softening. "Oh, I will always be here for you. No matter what you need, I'll do anything I can." So she really couldn't stand seeing him anymore. If I had known that all it took for her to give up on him was for him to lose his wings, I would have arranged something a lot sooner. I couldn't believe that all it took to resolve the issue with my friend's son was a simple conversation. I felt a wave of relief wash over me, and I decided I would need to thank him later with a good bottle of alcohol. As for that orphanage, I reassured myself that he wouldn't last long there. They were notorious for their strict measures. It seemed that destiny had a plan in store for him. Inko looked at me, her expression filled with worry. "What should I do about UA?" she asked. I replied confidently, "I can handle things. After all, I am one of his class teachers." Informing Nizu that the boy's mother no longer wanted him there wouldn't be difficult at all. The real reason he couldn't attend UA anymore was his missing wings. Even if he could go, the pain and wounds he suffered would prevent him from participating in most activities. Inko's eyes widened. You would do that for me? Of course, love. I'll do anything for you, I assured her. I don't want to see him ever again. Can we pay the medical bill online? She asked, desperation creeping into her voice. I don't think that's an option, but I'll go in person and take care of it. You won't have to go near him again, I promised. Thank you, she said, relief flooding her features. Not a problem at all, I replied. By the end of that day, I stayed by Inko's side, ensuring she wouldn't feel lonely. We grew closer, and she allowed me to handle her son's belongings as I saw fit. I got rid of everything that reminded me of him, transforming his room into my own. I moved in with her, and it felt like a match made in heaven. She was loyal and lovely, and I regretted not finding her before that vigilante did. His death had not been a coincidence. I was the one who had taken away his wings and let him bleed out. It was a calculated move, born from my realization that the woman I cared for was his mother. My plan had succeeded, and I became the man she needed, even supporting her son. That was how we ended up together, and I was certain she was mine and mine alone. I had no intention of sharing her time with that boy. The child sensed something was off and had even asked me a few times if I knew his father. I could tell he was trying to uncover something about me, searching for any reason to get rid of me. But there was nothing he could do. His mother never believed him after I revealed my identity. No one would suspect All Might, the #1 hero, of wrongdoing. It had been the best decision I ever made to become a hero. As I opened my eyes, the sound of beeping filled the air. I felt disoriented lying on the bed. The room was too bright, and the antiseptic smell reminded me of the infirmary at UA. I was on my stomach, and panic surged through me as I realized my wings were gone. My wings. They're gone. My quirk. I will never be able to fly again, I exclaimed, my voice trembling. Please calm down, a nurse said gently. Gone. Just gone. I shouted, my heart racing. How could I calm down? I still felt the flames on my skin, the pain of being pierced and hung. The memories flooded back, and I could almost smell the burned flesh. I sobbed, my body shaking as I relived the horror. I'll give you something to help you relax, the nurse said, her voice soothing. Please don't be surprised. Everything will eventually get better. Eventually? I lost everything. What could possibly get better? I was left to die. I cried, my panic overwhelming me. I couldn't hear the nurse's words over the chaos in my mind. The events were etched into my memory, something I would never forget. Soon, I felt a prick in my shoulder, and before I knew it, darkness enveloped me once more. When I awoke again, I found myself on my back in a hospital room, all alone. I had survived. But what? Why did they need to ruin a person's life? What had I done to deserve this? I couldn't recall ever meeting them before. I am scared, I whispered to myself. My wings. They were gone. What was I supposed to do now? I couldn't be a hero anymore. I couldn't be like my father. I had failed. I'm sorry. I couldn't keep my promise. I'm so sorry. I sobbed quietly until I heard the door open. A nurse approached my side. How are you feeling? She asked softly. I feel terrible. I want to die and yet live at the same time. It's confusing, I admitted. Right now, I just want to be free like a bird in the sky. Too bad I'll never be able to fly again. As I lay in the hospital bed, a whirlwind of thoughts consumed me. How did I survive? I wondered aloud, my voice barely a whisper. The nurse, her expression sympathetic, replied, I know it must be hard for you right now, but everything will get better once you get used to it. Get used to it? Get better? How? I struggled to comprehend her words. How do you think I should get used to it? I will never be able to fly again. The weight of my despair pressed down on me and I asked, will my wings ever recover? She hesitated before answering, we don't know yet, but it doesn't look good. However, there is a chance. Please, let me recover again. I pleaded, desperation creeping into my voice. For what? She asked, her brow furrowing in confusion. For being honest with me, I replied, frustration bubbling over. At least she is not like that man my mother picked up. Or the heroes. They were lying. Everything was a lie. Heroes are supposed to help people. What a joke. They did this to me. They were the bad guys. Will anyone believe me, though? No one will. Is there anything I can do for you? The nurse asked gently. You must be hungry. Should I bring you something specific? How long was I out? I inquired, my mind racing. 2 weeks, she said softly. Did my mom ever come and see me? I asked, my heart sinking. I'm sorry, she replied, her eyes filled with pity. Did anyone else come to see me? I pressed, hoping for some good news. A pro-hero named Eraserhead did on the first night, along with a detective, she informed me. Did they find the culprits? I asked, my voice trembling. They suspect someone who took their own life that night to be responsible for this, she explained. I see, I murmured, the weight of her words settling heavily on my chest. Don't worry. The person who did this to you is gone, she reassured me. Should I laugh or should I cry? I questioned bitterly. It wasn't just a person but a hero. But whatever. No one will believe me anyway. Why did Aizawa come here? I thought Shinso would, but not Aizawa. I wonder why Mom never visited me. Seeing that I was in no mood for further conversation, the nurse stepped out to fetch me some food. During the remainder of my stay in the hospital, I barely spoke to anyone. No one came to see me, not even my best friend Hitoshi or my classmates. Apparently, while I was unconscious, my class had been attacked by villains, all intent on destroying the #1 hero. Later, I watched the sports festival on TV and saw Hitoshi take my place in Class 1A. Betrayal washed over me, leaving me feeling utterly alone. Was this why you never came? I thought. I'm happy for you, Hitoshi. But I would be even happier if you had told me instead of me finding out this way. Did you already forget about me? Did the whole class forget about me? How could this be? What great heroes in training we have. Reality was hard to accept, and at that moment, I felt nothing but a deep longing to cry. The only company I had were the ravens perched on the windowsill, watching me intently as they pecked at the glass, trying to get someone to let them in. I was too weak to stand, and the nurse refused to help. It took another 2 weeks before they finally told me I could go home. My mother had never visited, and no one else had either. I felt utterly alone. I might have considered ending it all, but a part of me was still grateful to be alive. My father was gone, and I wanted to continue living a life he would have wanted for me. I wondered how my mom was doing. Was she mad at me? And what about my school? Did I still have the right to go back to UA? I was so confused. What was I supposed to do? Right now, I felt as good as quirkless. No one wanted someone as useless as me. I realized how hard life must be for those without quirks. I had never understood it until now. I guess one only learns through experience. First things first, I needed to go home. I hoped nothing had happened to my mom and that she would still accept me. I was relieved that the hospital fees were covered by family, but I hadn't heard from them since that incident a month ago. Finally, I was out and on my way home. Yet, I couldn't shake the questions swirling in my mind. Why was it me? Why did I survive? Was it my father's spirit watching over me? Why hadn't my mother come to visit at all? Why hadn't I heard anything from Hitoshi or my classmates? Was I truly that useless? Did people hate me that much? Did I deserve what happened? I did nothing wrong. I was sure of that. This had to be a huge mistake, but how could they? No matter how long I pondered these questions, I found no answers. Eventually, I gave up and walked home, the questions still echoing in my mind. As I stood in front of our house, I took out my keys, realizing the hospital still had all my belongings. It struck me as odd that I was still wearing my burned clothes. No one seemed to care. Why didn't anyone wonder? A boy walking in burned and bloodied clothes should have attracted attention, especially from heroes. But I received none. I even passed Endeavor, and he didn't glance my way. I guess this is how life treats me now. At least I was alive. Is this really what I want? Should I go back or just run away? What was I even thinking? Just because mom didn't visit me doesn't mean she doesn't care. Maybe she was too busy. Perhaps she couldn't cope with seeing me like this. I'm sorry for making you worry, Mom. I opened the door and stepped into our home. Mom, I'm home. I called out, but there was no response. She should be here. Maybe she was busy. I decided to close the door and change first before approaching her. No one wants to see their child in bloody clothes. Yet, I had expected her to greet me the moment I called out. If your child goes missing for a month, wouldn't you be worried? Where is she? I closed the door behind me and walked into the living room. No one was there, so I headed to the kitchen, where I found my mom with her boyfriend. In that moment, I forgot about my clothing. I just wanted to see my family. Mom, I called, turning to face her. The moment she turned around, I felt the anger radiating from her. Confusion washed over me. Did I do something wrong? Why was she mad at me? Was I not supposed to come back? And why was Yagi even here? Suddenly, it hit me, I was still in my bloody clothes. I forgot to change. My mother and her partner were preparing a meal together, and she still held a knife in her hand as she glared at me. The mix of her anger and my fear sent a chill down my spine. Don't you dare call the love of my life that. Yagi snapped. Ooh. Why couldn't you die? My mother's words struck me like a physical blow, and I felt the ground beneath me crumble. I had been telling myself that she was too busy to see me, that she hadn't forgotten me. Deep down, I knew I was lying, but I desperately wanted to understand the real reason she hadn't come to me. Get out of our sight, brat. Yagi shouted. Are you not happy to see? Don't you dare call me your mother. There is no place for you, who lost your quirk. But, didn't you hear? Are you deaf? I heard every word, and tears began to stream down my face. This was not what I wanted, nor could I have imagined it happening. Why was she angry at me? Why was she treating me like this? Mom! I cried out. The moment my mother stabbed the knife into the cutting board, I jumped back, but it was already too late. She grabbed my wrist, yanked me towards her, and slapped me. I fell to the ground, accidentally knocking over some plates. The fury in her eyes was terrifying. I could only sob harder, the pain from the shards in my palm intensifying. I leaned against the floor, pressing my hands against the shards to push myself up again. Everything was spinning. Sob. Mom. That seemed to be the final straw for her. She seized my hands and dragged me out of the kitchen to the car, throwing me inside. I felt powerless, and since I didn't want to endure any more pain, I let her do as she pleased. I obeyed her will and sat there in silence. Before long, she got into the car, and we began driving somewhere. I didn't have a single thing with me. My mother drove in silence, and before I knew it, the car came to a stop. I didn't dare look outside. I just sat there, staring down at my lap until the door on my side swung open. Get out, she commanded. When I didn't move, she grabbed me by my hair and dragged me out. Listen when I talk to you. She threw me onto the street, and when I looked up, her glare was piercing. Get up. I complied, knowing what awaited me if I didn't obey. She walked past me, motioning for me to follow, and I did. Little did I know where she had driven me or why we were there. If I had known this would be the last time I would see my mother or be on my own, I would have at least grabbed some of my belongings, but what was done was done. I was completely on my own now. The building before me was rather nice. At first, I thought it was some kind of school or boarding school, but once we were inside, I saw only a clear floor and a woman approaching us. Something felt off. The building looked appealing, but the atmosphere was unsettling. There were no animals around, which was never a good sign. No children were running about, no elderly people walking, and no one expressing any emotions, just emptiness. I couldn't even find a single raven nearby. Normally, they followed me wherever I went, but there were none here. That fact sent a chill down my spine. This whole place felt cold and distant, a place where no one should be. As appealing as the building was, it creeped me out. What was this place? It didn't feel right. Where were we? I wanted to ask, but fear held me back. Why are you acting like this? I am still your son. Why? Why did everything happen to me? Please, Anyone save me. I don't want to lose everything. Don't give up on me. I can be a better son. I'll do anything. But please, don't throw me away. This must be this man's fault. He told you to do this. Please don't listen to him. He is bad news. Why don't you want to believe in me? Good afternoon, the woman said. I want to give him up, my mother replied. Please wait inside there, child, the woman instructed. I glanced from the woman to my mother, but all she did was glare at me. Despite everything I had been through, I didn't want to act out of place, so I followed the command into the next room. It looked like a waiting area. My mother and the woman joined me a few minutes later. What's your name? The woman asked. Izuku Midoriya, I replied. Quirk, she inquired. Nightly. What does it do? No, I had black wings. I hesitated, not wanting to reveal that I could communicate with ravens or command them. Something told me this place was cursed. I hated it here. Why were we even here? Was this a school? A boarding school? A mental hospital? This coldness felt like a prison. I see. School? The woman continued. I said. I took him out of there, so he is not in any school right now, my mother stated. What do you mean you took me out? How could you do that? When were you going to tell me? Do you know how hard I worked to get into that school? I thought you were happy for me to be there. This was something Dad wanted me to do. Don't you remember the promise between us? So we will need to put him into one. That will be noted down. How is his medical condition? The woman asked. Healed up, my mother replied. Age? He's 15. Anything we need to know? No. All you need to do is fill this paper out and sign it at the end. I was still so confused that I didn't know what was happening. This was strange. Not to mention that I lost my spot in UA because of my mother. I knew very well that there was no chance for me to stay in the hero course, but I could have simply moved to the general education course. Thank you. You may leave now, the woman said. My mom stood up, and I followed her until I heard the woman's alarming voice. You are staying here, young man? But what's going on? Mom. You don't have a family or a family name anymore. You're nothing to me. From today onward, I sever all ties with you. I never want to see you again. My mother's words left me stunned, my mouth hanging open in disbelief. I had never imagined she was capable of such cruelty, disowning me and casting me aside. I was her son, wasn't I? How could she speak to me like that? In that moment, I understood the truth. I was not in a boarding school or any place like it. I was in an orphanage, a rather peculiar one at that. The silence was unnerving. I couldn't hear any other children or staff, not even the sounds of animals outside. Normally, at least one raven would be perched on a tree branch, but here, there was nothing. It was only after my mother left the room that a woman approached me and slapped my face, jolting me back to reality. I am Jean, the main caretaker here. Listen carefully, brat. You are not allowed to leave your room, speak, act out of place, or request anything from us. I will assign you some work, and you must complete it within the time I give you. Do you understand? I wasn't foolish enough to answer her. She had just declared that speaking was forbidden. I see you catch on quickly. Answer me. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am, I replied. Good. We won't have any problems with each other like this. Follow me. She led me through the orphanage, pointing out various rooms. One large room was filled with beds for younger children, but that wasn't where I was meant to stay. Instead, she guided me to the attic. It felt wrong, and I decided to remain silent. I didn't want to get into more trouble than I already was. I needed to find a way to escape. I hoped I wouldn't discover what she meant by that. Meanwhile, All Might was reflecting on his future as he left with the boy. He was on his way to meet an old friend who had played a crucial role in his plans. Perhaps, with luck, he could even have a son with her, his very own son. Not long after departing, he pulled out his phone and called his friend. It was better for him to send one of his men to teleport All Might rather than risk being seen together. A warp portal opened, and he stepped through, arriving in a rundown bar. How have you been, Kurogyri? As usual, Kurogyri replied. I see they still make you drink wine out of despair. No. I drink it because I need to drown myself. Well, enjoy. I brought a wine bottle with me. It was true, since they had helped him, it was only fair to return the favor. Before stepping through the portal, he had grabbed the first wine bottle he found in the kitchen. Thanks, man. No problem. Now, where is my dear old friend? He told me to bring you here and then wait for 10 minutes before bringing you to him. Some business talk? Something like that. The bar was empty. Aside from them, there was no one inside. This made All Might think about the rest of the League of Villains. Where is the rest? Out on a mission. And here I hope to see my boy again. You mean the man-child you spoiled rotten with games? Yes. My boy does have an addiction. You mean a problem? You sure it was a good idea to choose him as a successor? Yes. He is a splendid boy. Nana would be proud of him. I still can't believe that you, All Might, are helping AFO. Who would have thought you two were best buddies? Well, we've known each other for a long time now. Still, killing your mentor just to get her quirk. It was necessary, and Tamura knows that too. Besides, AFO and I are taking good care of him. I only wish you would punish him sometimes too. After that, they began discussing the League of Villains' latest mission. It was no secret they were targeting All Might, but what no one knew was that they were faking everything to ensure he remained the best symbol of peace. This was how he shielded both Tamura and the League. Well, let me take you to the old guy. You're getting bolder by the day. Sure, you walking skeleton. Kurogiri teleported him to a different area, and All Might found himself in a hospital-like room. There you are, my dear old friend. All Might, how have you been? Better than ever, thanks to you. What about you? Same as always. I see you've already got the results of my plan. Yes, and I must say, I am finally alone with the love of my life. That's good to hear. Is there anything I can help you with? Not at the moment. Just let me know if you need anything. I will, but for now, just give the heroes false information. I already am. I'm curious, how did you manage to get rid of that nuisance so easily? All it took was a raven's feather and toga with a sharp knife. How did you get his blood? Did you know that your boy? Don't you dare call him my boy. I mean Midoriya. Nope. He was never one. That species belongs to his good-for-nothing father. Well, what should I call him then? BSE idiot, son of a useless thing, waste of space. I love how you hate this kid. Not hate, but I have a strong dislike for him. Anyways, how did you get his blood? Oh, that kid is donating it in a hospital. I just had Kurogiri get it. That easy, huh? Yep, that easy. If I had known it was that simple, I would have asked for your advice sooner. I've got your back. You need to go back. Your soon-to-be wife should be back any minute now. Yes. You'll send me an invitation to your wedding soon, right? You'll be the first one. After that, he called Kurogiri to teleport All Might back. The moment he stepped into the kitchen, he found a cake waiting for him with a card that read, "Enjoy your new life with your soon-to-be wife, your friends." I will. A month passed with All Might staying at the orphanage. By now, I was familiar with the routines around the place. My responsibilities included caring for the little kids, cooking for them, and cleaning both their area and my own. It wasn't a difficult job, and I hadn't seen our caretaker again after she outlined my duties. I was grateful for that. I had heard the others speak of her punishments, and she had a reputation for being harsh. I had no longing to discover what that entailed. The scars left on the others were deep, and the mere thought of experiencing her wrath sent goosebumps across my skin. I felt I had endured enough pain for a lifetime. The kids were all kind to me, and I never had any issues with them. Whenever a new child was assigned to my care, I did my best to help them feel at home and forget their painful pasts. Over time, I became like a big brother or even a father figure to them, someone they could rely on and confide in. I was always there to support them, and I was thankful that the kids warned me in advance about anything I might have messed up. After all, how was I supposed to know the ins and outs? All our caretaker had said was to do things a certain way, without any further explanation. Her unsettling personality only added to my anxiety. At least I was surrounded by so many little angels. They felt like family. Speaking of family, I hoped I would never see my mother or the caretaker again. I feared that if I did, I might turn into a villain myself. We had formed our own little family, and everything was going well so far. Nothing bad had happened, and I was making a good recovery too. Suddenly, I heard a voice call my name, and my heart sank. Izuku! How I hated that voice. It was never a good sign when she called for me like that. Why couldn't she use my full name? I knew she only wanted to make my life more difficult. Losing my quirk had already been enough. At this point, I would have preferred facing a villain over her. I was fairly certain I could hold my own against a villain, but her? It felt like I was playing a dangerous game every single day. One slip-up, and she would surely find a way to punish me. I couldn't let myself be discouraged. I had survived, and that was what mattered. It was the first time in a month that I heard the caretaker call for me, and I wasted no time going to see what she wanted. Had I done something wrong? I had made breakfast for the kids and cleaned the kitchen afterward. I had completed all my tasks without annoying her or getting in her way. I even cleaned both their room and mine. By now, I had started calling the attic my room. It was spacious, and when I discovered I could open the windows, I let a couple of ravens in. They were free to come and go, but there were always 2 or 3 of them guarding my room while I slept. Ever since my quirk had disappeared, the ravens had come around more often, trying to take care of me by talking to me and bringing me berries and nuts. I appreciated their thoughtfulness. Izuku! The caretaker's voice cut through my thoughts, and I knew I had to find her soon. How could she be this impatient? I couldn't teleport. I could tell she was close to my room, but I was so caught up in my worries that I didn't notice her presence until I reached the stairs leading to the attic. Oh no, was she in my room? Please no. I hoped the ravens had managed to escape in time. Effendi Izuku, come here right now. I knew she was in my room. I rushed to the door, hoping the ravens were okay. As I opened it, a metallic scent filled the air. Black feathers were scattered around the room, and as I approached our head caretaker, I saw the dead birds on the ground. It pained me to see them like that, but I couldn't cry. I wouldn't allow myself to show weakness, or she would punish me. I had seen her do that to the others. Explain, she demanded. I must have left the window open by accident, I replied. Don't lie to me. I wasn't lying. That's what they always say. It was true, I had left the window open by accident. What she didn't ask was whether I had intentionally opened it. That was a different matter entirely. I had felt lonely, and that was why I had opened the window. Normally, I would close it when I was with the other kids, just in case someone decided to rat me out. Come here, she ordered. Yes, ma'am. I responded, my heart racing. Don't move. If I wanted to avoid escalating the situation, I needed to comply. I stepped in front of her, my head lowered. There was no way I would look her in the eyes. That would only make her angrier. I bit down on my lip in frustration. How could she do something like this? The kids had done nothing wrong. Once I stood before her, she moved behind me. No animals allowed, and you know that. I did know, but I didn't care. She was acting like a rabid animal herself. Before I could say more, I felt her grab the base of my wings and begin dragging me to a corner near my bed. Instead of throwing me onto the bed, she tossed me right in front of it and quickly pinned me down. Now she would definitely scold me. Still, it was better than her targeting the kids to get back at me. I could handle this. It wasn't hard to escape the situation, given my limited pro-hero training from UA. However, if I had done that, the consequences would have been dire and could even affect the kids I was caring for. This was my mistake, and I didn't want them to suffer, too. They were already struggling, being small and unable to grasp a few rules. I had grown fond of them, so in the end, I didn't resist and let myself be tossed around. Wingless. This is what you get for violating the rules. Wait, what did she just say? I already knew she hated me, but not to this extent. W8 wingless. I am not going to let you do this to me. They can recover. I know they will. I am not going to let you hurt me like this. To my surprise, I began to struggle, but it was already too late. Jean had me pinned down, and there was no way for me to escape. Her quirk was unique. She could transform her fingers into scalpels and her arm into a sharp blade. In mere seconds, she had a foot on me and one hand gripping the base of my wings. I felt a searing pain, a burning agony that made me scream until everything faded to black. No. My wings. No. I cried out, but there was nothing left of them. The pain overwhelmed me, and that was why I lost consciousness. They were useless anyway, Jean said dismissively. Be happy that I got rid of them. Before I completely blacked out, I caught a glimpse of her discarding the remnants of my wings in front of me as she walked away. From Hawk's perspective, it had been 4 months since we lost our child, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we should consider adoption. It was difficult to have our own, and I thought about all the children left without families due to a villain's attack. Ironically, it seemed fitting for our family. We had lost our child to circumstances, and these kids had lost theirs because of incidents beyond their control. This was why I found myself on my way to Dobby. I had just finished work, and he had been home for an hour, waiting with some chicken. Dobby! I called out, unable to resist tackling him into a hug as I began the conversation. Let's adopt a kid. It might not have been the most tactful way to bring it up, but it was the quickest. You want to adopt a kid? Dobby asked, surprised. Why not? I replied, my enthusiasm bubbling over. We just lost ours, he pointed out. I know, but I can't help it, I want one. Besides, the boy responsible for our loss won't do it again. We both know what happened to him. So why not adopt? There are so many kids without parents for various reasons. Some lost theirs in villain fights, and we lost ours due to a villain. And there are kids who lost their parents, I added. So, you want to adopt a kid with trauma? Dobby asked, raising an eyebrow. Kinda. Why does that sound so strange coming from you? Because it is, he replied bluntly. Everything will be fine. I insisted. Are you sure about this? He asked, his tone serious. Yes, I affirmed. Guess we're getting a kid then, he said, a hint of resignation in his voice. Really? That's surprised. Sure. But I thought you would be against it. I never said anything against it, I just questioned your sudden statement. I murmured, considering his words. But why do you want a kid with trauma? Why not a normal kid or one that was given up after BRH? He pressed. It just feels right, I replied, conviction in my voice. Feels right, huh? He echoed, a hint of skepticism in his tone. Well, you have trust issues and some daddy issues, I countered. And you have issues thinking you are a weapon and emotional scars from the hero commission training, he shot back. I won't deny that, I admitted. Me neither, he said, nodding. So, you're okay with it? I asked hopeful. Yup, he confirmed. Great. Because I already made an appointment for us to visit the St. Andreas orphanage. No matter what I would have said, you would have gone through with this, right? Dobby remarked, a resigned smile creeping onto his face. No, I exclaimed, feeling a surge of frustration. So you don't trust me right now, chicken? Dobby shot back, a teasing smirk on his face. Come on, burned nugget. I retorted, trying to lighten the mood. Then why the hell did you make an appointment before we agreed on it? He challenged, crossing his arms. Because I knew you would agree too. I defended myself, sensing the conversation was spiraling. Seeing that we were going in circles, I stepped closer to him. Believe me, I insisted, and in mere seconds, Jay was right in front of him, with only a small air gap between us. Hawks, Dobby said, his tone playful. Before he could say anything else, I began to lightly nibble on his ear, a mischievous gesture. I noticed his voice hit a higher octave, revealing that he was enjoying it. Oh, is this how you want to play? He replied, a hint of challenge in his voice. You do know that two can play this game. Oh no. I think I've angered the lion. Spare me. Or not. Hi. Knowing Dobby, I was certain he had something special planned in response to my teasing. I couldn't deny that I loved the playful banter between us. It was this dynamic that led him to carry me into our room, where we stayed until morning. A time skip brought to you by a cat and a little hawk spending the night together in a close embrace. The next morning, we shared breakfast and prepared for the day ahead. As I was about to head to the balcony to fly out, I felt someone touching my feathers. "DBI!" I exclaimed, flustered by how sensitive my wings were, and he knew it all too well. "I see your body still remembers our night together," he remarked, a teasing glint in his eyes. "That's beside the point. Why did you stop me?" I asked, trying to regain my composure. "That orphanage. When is the appointment?" he inquired, his tone suddenly serious. "Tomorrow." "Why?" I replied, curious. "Because your dumbass didn't tell me that yesterday," he said, rolling his eyes. "Oh, sorry, mister. I needed to seal your sweet lips." I shot back, smirking. "Mister, I can't get enough," he countered, his grin widening. "Mister, let's go another round." I teased. "Chicken," he called out, feigning exasperation. "I win this time, burned nuggets," I declared triumphantly. I woke up lying in a pool of my own blood. My body felt numb, and I realized no one had come to see me. No one cared after all. There was no need for anyone to search for me. All I could do was look for the younger kids. One of the older ones could easily replace me. She had let me live. No, that wasn't right. She had left me to die here. Just a glance beside me revealed the base of my wings lying there. She had really cut them off. Did she truly want to kill me? Why was I even questioning that? She was cruel and indifferent, just one less mouth to feed. But what had I done wrong? Why did I deserve this? If only I had never encountered Hawks and Dabi. They were all the same. No one cared. Not Aizawa, not Shinso, not my family, not any pro-hero. They all just watched and did nothing. They were the worst. Where was a hero when you needed one? Pifafa, I should have just died back then. Why did anyone save me from that street? I lay there, reflecting on my life over the past few months. Nothing that had happened made sense. Why did they attack me? Why? I hated them. They had ruined my life. But then there was All Might. That BSD had poisoned my mother's thoughts. She would have never abandoned me if it weren't for him. I swore that the moment I got better, I would pay them all back. That was what I wanted to do. But realistically, how could I, a mere child, defeat the #1 hero? Not only that, but I needed to uncover the truth and find out who framed me. There had to be a connection between me and Hotwings. Why had they killed their child and framed me? I couldn't believe there hadn't been a detective to investigate this. As I pondered, I heard footsteps approaching the stairs. Footsteps I recognized all too well. "Get up and clean your mess," Jean ordered. "After that, stay in your room. We have visitors, and I don't want them to see something filthy like you." "Yes, ma'am." My voice came out weak, but I had to respond. Standing up and moving was another challenge. I never thought I could feel such pain. One thing was for sure. After this, I had developed a remarkable pain tolerance. Still lying on the ground, I heard a knocking sound at the window. Caw. My ravens were there, looking at me. Only then did I realize that they were all over the windows, each one watching me intently. Not okay. But live, I managed to say, a weak smile forming on my face as tears welled in my eyes. They truly were the best. Even after losing everything, they always stayed with me. Thank you for not giving up on me too. It took me a solid hour to get up. Everything hurt, especially my back, but I knew if I didn't do what Jean told me, I would surely be dead. I dragged my body to the window. There was no way I could lift a bucket of water to clean up the blood. I was too weak to stand, yet somehow I managed. My ravens were my only solution. I needed water, and after everything I had been through, my body was too weak to carry anything besides my own weight. I opened the window, and the cawing of ravens filled the air. "Hey there," I said softly as one of the crows ventured into my room. I reached out and began to pet it, feeling a wave of exhaustion wash over me. I sank back down onto the ground. "Can you help me get some water?" I asked, though I knew it wasn't the first time I had made such a request. That was why I had a small cup that resembled a toy bucket. It worked perfectly for my ravens. The raven cawed in response, and I thanked it as one flew out while another snuggled against me. They were my only companions, and I cherished their presence. Not long after, the first raven returned with the cup, and I took a sip. The two ravens watched me with worried eyes as a third one flew in, carrying a branch laden with wild berries. I recognized them as raspberries. "Thank you," I said, accepting the food and giving the raven a gentle pat on its head. After I set the cup down, the same raven took it and flew out again. Now I had to clean up the mess, but then I heard footsteps approaching. "Leave quickly," I whispered urgently. The ravens obeyed, leaving me alone with a broom just as the attic door opened and Jean entered, carrying some clothes. "Tiske, if they didn't ask for you, then I wouldn't be here. Get changed and get rid of the scent. After that, come down," she instructed. "I understand," I replied, finally able to stand again. My body felt numb, but I pushed through the pain, reminding myself that it was proof I was still alive. How did she expect me to get rid of the smell? I wasn't allowed to shower. I decided to make do with the water and a towel. Once Jean left, a raven returned with the cup, as if it had been waiting for the right moment. "You want to help me?" I asked. The raven cawed in agreement. "Thank you." I removed my cloth and lay down as the raven carefully poured the water from the cup onto me. Whoever said ravens were dumb was mistaken. One held the cup while another perched on my back, tipping the water over me. The icy water stung against my wounds. Once the cup was empty, a third raven brought a towel and began to clean my back, using its head and wings. In the end, it did a commendable job. "Thank you guys," I said, feeling grateful. Suddenly, Jean's voice echoed from downstairs. "Izuku, get down." That was my cue to quickly change and head downstairs. The ravens cawed in unison, and I reassured them, "Don't worry, guys, I'll be careful." From Hawk's perspective, it was finally the day Dobby and I would pick up a child from the orphanage. I felt a surge of excitement as we stood in front of the building. "Why are there so many crows on the roof?" Dobby asked, glancing up. "Why are you asking me that?" I replied, slightly annoyed. "Because you're a chicken," he teased. "Oh, so now because I'm a chicken, I can understand every bird?" "Wait, I am not a chicken," I shot back. "I'm a hawk, not anything else, and I can't understand them." I insisted. "Is that a crow with a cup?" Dobby pointed out. "Yep," I confirmed, both of us fascinated by the sight of the roof completely covered with crows. Every tree had them perched on its branches, and many were flying around, creating a chaotic scene that resembled a child losing control of their quirk. "Do you think someone lost control of their quirk?" I wondered aloud. "Possibly," Dobby replied. "Let's go in." I agree. We can also ask for the kid responsible and help them regain control. With that, we walked inside and were greeted by the main caretaker. "Hello, my name is Jean," she said warmly. "Hello, I made an appointment for today," I replied. "Ah yes, this way please." She led us to a room filled with younger children. They all looked at us and immediately rushed toward us. As pro-heroes, it was hard not to be recognized. The kids seemed eager to be adopted, all well-behaved and adorable, but my mind kept drifting back to the crows. They were so cute, but who had lost control of their quirk? I needed to help them before things got out of hand. "Is there anyone here with a quirk that can control ravens?" I asked. "There is no such kid here," Jean replied. I noticed the children appeared a bit frightened, and I exchanged a glance with Dobby. "Go distract her so I can speak with them," I urged. "I got it," Dobby said. "Miss Jean, are there other kids too? Thank goodness you know me well." "We do have older kids," she answered. "Nugget, can you go look for them while I spend some time with these little ones?" I asked. "Sure. I'll tell you if I find someone interesting," he replied as he left the room with the caretaker. I felt grateful that he could read my thoughts just by looking at me. But seriously, why were the kids so scared of her? They were so young. A small girl approached me, tugging at my coat. I crouched down to her eye level. Mister?" she began. "What's up, chicken?" I asked playfully. "Can you save Raven?" she said, her voice trembling. "Raven? Who's that?" I inquired, puzzled. Another slightly older boy joined us, concern etched on his face. Some of the kids had teary eyes. What was happening here? "Raven is an older boy with broken wings," he explained. "He is the one that can control the ravens," another boy added. "So he is controlling them. But why are you all so sad? What's going on?" I pressed, feeling a knot form in my stomach. I could tell they all cared deeply for this boy. He must be a kind-hearted kid. Now I was curious to see who he was. A boy with broken wings. Maybe we could adopt him. "Sniff, Jean took him from us." "Sniff," the girl cried. Hey, no need to cry. Everything will be fine," I reassured them. "Mr. Hawks, can you save him, please?" another boy pleaded. "Don't worry, that's what I do best," I promised, standing up just as the door opened and Dobby walked in. He came to my side and whispered something in my ear. "There is a faint blood scent lingering in the air on the first floor," he said. Now I understood why they were so scared. "Jean," I called out. "Yes, did you already decide on a kid?" she asked. "I want to see the boy they call Raven," I stated firmly. "Who's that?" Dobby asked, looking intrigued. "That boy is a troublemaker. I would advise you to choose another one," Jean warned. "And why is that?" Dobby pressed. "You see, that boy is mean and has a very bad attitude. The kids are even scared of him. He used to bully them for no reason," she explained. Dobby looked at me, and I shook my head, determined to find out more about this boy. Dobby and I stood firm, demanding to see the child. "We want to see him." Dobby insisted. Jean, the woman in charge, replied, "That is rather difficult since the child is currently reflecting." I pressed further, "Are you refusing to let us see the child?" "No, sir," Jean responded. "If you follow me to the waiting room, I'll send the child there." After some negotiation, she finally agreed to let us meet the boy. Once she left us alone in the waiting room, I turned to Dobby. "What did you notice?" he asked. I shook my head, recalling the fearful expressions of the other children. The kids were scared for a boy named Raven. They were practically begging me to help him. They all seemed distant and frightened of Jean. Dobby nodded in agreement. The older kids were intimidated as well. Not to mention the smell of blood I could pick up. "Do you think she is hurting them?" I asked, my heart sinking. "Possibly," Dobby replied. "Or they are hurting each other and she doesn't care." "I would say the first option looks more realistic," I said, feeling a chill run down my spine. Just then, Jean returned, leading a boy behind her. "This is the boy," she announced. "His name is Izuku." We turned to see him standing in the doorway. Izuku? There was no way it was that kid. He looked pale and devoid of wings. His eyes were unfocused, and his pupils were unnaturally large. Something was definitely wrong. The smell of blood emanating from him was alarming. "Oh gosh!" I gasped. "Don't tell me this is Raven. What happened to him? He looks as if he's been through so much. Where are his wings? Even if they weren't fully recovered, he should have the base intact. What happened to him?" His eyes were broken and cold, almost like glass. This was not the boy we had left behind. He looked down, and when he finally met my gaze, terror filled his eyes, as if he had seen a ghost and was terrified for his life. In an instant, he began to back away from us, then bolted out of the room. "Wait!" Dobby shouted, panic rising in his voice. "What have we done? This is not how he should have paid for our son's life. This was worse than death. Robbing a bird of its wings was a death sentence for sure. This was why we had left his base intact. He should have been able to recover. Dang it. This is our fault." Jean interjected. "As you can tell, the kid has a bad temper and isn't well behaved." Before I knew what was happening, Dobby and I stormed out of the room. The bloody smell in the air was unmistakably coming from him, and we noticed a blood trail. Drops of blood were everywhere. It was the way he had looked at us that we couldn't forget. Why? Why is it them? Did they search for me? Are they here to confront me? Wasn't it enough to take my wings? I can't. Why? The moment I heard a gasp, I looked up to see who wanted to see me. That was exactly when I saw Hawks and Dobby in the room, and that was also the moment I ran. What are they doing here? I don't want to see them. I hate them. I just want to be alone. Why are you chasing me? Wasn't it enough to take everything? Do you want my life too? Too bad, I don't plan on giving it to you. It is mine and mine alone. You already took so much from me. No matter how hurt or weak I felt, the moment I saw them, I felt like throwing up and just running for my life. So that's what I did. Ignoring the scream behind me, I ran towards the attic and locked myself in. I need to get out of here. If only I had my wings. They are still there on the floor. Why did Jean cut them off? What did I do? Why is this happening? There are too many questions in my head. I can't focus. What did I do in my past life to deserve this? By now, I was completely out of breath and crying. I didn't even notice the blood running down my back. Once I was in my room, I slumped down against the wall. Everything was spinning. Raven? A voice called, sounding concerned. I am fine. Just dizzy, I replied weakly. Another raven came closer and pushed a cup towards me, but I just felt like escaping from that cramped room. But why did this happen? I know I was framed. Wait, why didn't I think of that? I could ask them. They knew I was framed. So they also know what happened. But now is not the time to ask them. Despite how I felt, I stood up and went to an open window. I had done this before, so I knew there was an escape from this room. Not waiting a second longer, I climbed out of the window while standing on a chair and got onto the roof. I only had a couple of minutes until they came in. One chance. That's all I have. And I'll make it. I have to. I could see so many ravens, and I carefully walked on the roof towards a fire escape. However, halfway through, I felt nauseous and dizzy, slipping and beginning to fall until I somehow managed to grip the edge of the roof. The ravens all tried to stop my fall by grabbing my clothes and flapping their wings. It wasn't much help, but I appreciated the thought. Thanks, I murmured. Everything was spinning, and I could see black dots appearing in my vision. Still refusing to give up, I gritted my teeth and pulled myself up again, slowly standing and starting to walk on the roof tiles. Stop! I froze instantly. Something didn't feel right. His voice was filled with anxiety, but why? Why are you chasing me? Why are you so scared? Why can't you just leave me be? Leave me alone. Now I was getting angry and irritated. It was his fault. I lost my family because of him. I was stuck here because of him. I lost my wings because of him. So what right did he have to stop me? As my anger grew, the ravens reacted to my feelings. They saw Hawks as a threat and began attacking him like a swarm. I used that distraction to get away, but my body was too weak, and I slumped down. Before I could fall completely, I felt something soft and sharp supporting me. Looking at it, I saw that it was a red feather. But a red feather. My wings. They are gone. I won't be able to fly ever again, all because of you. These feathers pierce through them. How can you save me now? As I gazed at the scene before me, my vision blurred with tears that streamed down my cheeks, and I collapsed entirely. Bravery felt futile. I had lost everything, and that was an undeniable truth. The raven, sensing my despair, abandoned Hawks and flew toward me. My ability to control them had never been stronger, and in my moment of loss, I felt a deeper connection with them. It was as if they wished to protect me even more fiercely than before. Izuku, can I come closer? Hawks asked, his voice laced with concern. Why? I replied, my voice trembling. Izuku, please, I want to help you, he urged, desperation evident in his tone. Help me? Now you want to be the hero? Where were you when Jean cut my wings? Where were you when my mother threw me away? Where were you when I was in the hospital? I know this was a huge misunderstanding, but why go so far as to make me essentially quirkless? I waited for you to come and tell me that you made a mistake. You never came. You are no longer the hero I admired. Help me. I lost everything because of you. You are no help. Leave me alone. I shouted, the pain in my heart spilling over into my words. Tears continued to flow as the ravens circled around me, trying to capture my attention and distract me, but it was futile. Some of them attempted to support me, mimicking hawk's feathers. I felt myself falling into a deep, dark pit filled with troubling thoughts, and there seemed to be nothing I could do to escape it. "Hawks," he said, his voice firm yet gentle, "listen, Izuku, you've clearly lost a lot of blood, you're still losing it. Let me carry you to a doctor, okay?" "A doctor? Do I look like I can be healed? I was broken by you and tossed aside. Do you think someone can give me back what I lost? But I am curious, why did you do it? I can't remember you or Dabi ever telling me why. It's bothering me so much. What have I done? But why does it matter if I live or die? You wanted me dead anyway." I retorted, my voice filled with anguish. "Izuku, I know what we did to you was wrong, but please, the kids in this orphanage are worried sick about you. If not for me, then do it for them. Don't let them be sad," Hawks pleaded. "As if they care. All they want is someone to protect them and take the blame. I never let them go too far or do something foolish so that no one would get punished. Anyone could replace me." I cried out, feeling the weight of my despair. "Kid, please let me get close to you. Stop saying that and tell me why." Hawks urged, his voice breaking with emotion. "Why did you even do this to me?" I demanded, my heart aching. "I'll tell you when we get down. So please, let me pick you up," he said, his voice steady. "But I never saw you before. I never did anything to you. So why? You were the one hero I looked up to. I wanted to be like you. So why? I need to know." "Izuku," Hawks called out, desperation in his voice. As I spoke, I felt all the energy drain from my body, and I collapsed. The last thing I remembered was someone catching me and speaking to me, but their words were lost in the haze of my mind. I felt so cold, and all I could think about were the wings I had lost. From Hawk's perspective, I watched the boy break down in tears, overwhelmed by his emotions. Something was terribly wrong, and the unease in my gut only intensified. This was not what I had wanted. He should have faced the consequences of his actions, but this was different. His life was in ruins, and he was teetering on the brink of death. What Dabi and I had intended for him was a life filled with regret. He should have been defenseless and mourning his quirk, not fighting for his life. We had lost something precious, and so had he. That had been the goal, but this was not what we had envisioned. This was why I followed him. "Wake up," I urged, my voice urgent. After he collapsed completely, the ravens flew protectively around him, allowing me to pick him up without resistance. They followed me as I soared toward the nearest hospital. This was not the outcome I had wished for. "Please make it, kid. You can't die like this. This is not how you should end your suffering. You should live and remember what you have done wrong," I whispered, my heart heavy with worry. It didn't take long to reach the hospital, and I quickly found a nurse and a doctor to assist him. In the children's room, I couldn't shake the thoughts swirling in my mind. I wondered why he had been so cruel to us yet so kind to the orphans. Had he changed? Or had we targeted the wrong person? It couldn't be. We had a detective. They had reviewed the footage and assured us they would investigate. A day after the incident, they called to say they had identified the culprit but claimed they couldn't take action. That's why we took matters into our own hands in the first place. But your wings and the black feather we found. They were so obvious. We never had the feather tested ourselves. Now that I think about it, that detective was strange. Who says, stabby wounds? Did he even conduct a proper investigation? I knew we shouldn't have trusted him. We should have gone to someone else. But he was the only one who showed up, along with a man with very rough skin. I should have taken the feather to a lab for testing myself. Even if it was from a quirk, it wouldn't be the same as a regular raven feather. What if that detective was just lazy? I knew results in one day were unrealistic. How did I not suspect that sooner? How could we have missed that? Did we really jump to conclusions? Was someone trying to frame him? Was I overthinking? But if that were the case, it meant we had ruined an innocent life. Lost in my thoughts, a doctor entered the room. He was the first doctor who had treated Izuku and placed him in a room. Are you his guardian? The doctor asked. Not yet, I replied. Not yet, he echoed, raising an eyebrow. I was planning to adopt him when I found him like this, I explained. I see. I'm not allowed to disclose his information, but since you are the pro-hero Hawks and intend to adopt him, I'll share what's going on, the doctor said. Yes, please, I urged, eager for answers. We found remnants of bone in his wound, which leads us to believe he had wings. However, they were cleanly severed, the doctor informed me. Will they ever recover? I asked, my heart sinking. We don't know the extent of his quirk. He might recover, but he might not. It all depends on him, the doctor replied. Anything else? I pressed. He developed a high fever due to blood loss. We are doing our best to treat him, but his condition is serious. For now, we've placed him in a light coma to ease his pain after the treatment, the doctor explained. When will he wake up? I asked, anxiety creeping into my voice. In a week, the doctor said, his expression grave. Just like that, the doctor left the room, his face etched with pain. He lay on his stomach, allowing the wounds on his back to heal properly. I understood, even without the doctor voicing it, that his condition was too severe to consider bringing in a healer. As I watched him, the door opened again, and Dobby walked in. I had sent him a quick message about our location right after they took care of the boy. Why do you look so sad? Dobby asked, his brow furrowing. He lost his wings completely because of us, I replied, my voice heavy with guilt. He deserved it. Dobby shot back. Dobby, what if we made a mistake and it wasn't him? I countered, my heart racing. What do you mean? We both saw the footage and we found his feathers. Not to mention we had a detective coming in too. Dobby argued, frustration creeping into his tone. No. We found black feathers. We never checked what kind they were. Besides, don't you think it was suspicious how quickly they gave us their results? I insisted. Dobby paused, his expression shifting as he processed my words. I'll take care of it. You stay with the kid, he declared before leaving the room. A wave of anxiety washed over me. It was possible we had made a huge mistake. Thank goodness I wasn't the only one thinking that. My instincts screamed that we had done something wrong. I should have listened to that nagging feeling I had right after we acted. How could we make this right? We had essentially destroyed his life. But if he really did kill our son, then perhaps it was karma. Still, so many things didn't add up. Why had he begged me to tell him what he did if he was guilty? He should have known. Why was he so desperate? Even in his frail state, he had tried to escape, terrified. This wasn't the behavior of someone who was guilty. It's not easy to forget killing a child. But I truly believed we had the wrong person. Guilt weighed heavily on me. Please let me be wrong and that he really did kill him. Because if not, I didn't know where to begin to make things right again. From Dobby's perspective, the thought of us making a mistake when the culprit seemed so obvious was unimaginable. It was clear as day that the boy was the one who killed our son, but what my partner said wasn't wrong either. We had never actually tested the feather ourselves. Our anger and sadness had led us to immediately believe what we saw and what that detective told us. I knew he had a screw loose when he spoke to us. My partner was right. We never tested the feather. And that detective, if it turned out he misled us, I swore I would make him pay. Damn it. We should have double-checked. How could we have been so foolish? With these thoughts racing through my mind, I found myself leaving the room, my husband left behind. Even though I had seen the tape, there were so many questions we had ignored. I knew something was wrong right after we acted, but it hadn't seemed like it at the time. Without hesitation, I went straight home to retrieve the feather we had kept with our son's belongings. I took it out and headed to the nearest laboratory. It was unusual for a hero to come here, but I couldn't wait for results, so I went directly to the first person I found. Hey! I called out. How may I help you? The guy replied, looking perplexed. I have a feather from a case. It's important, and I need the results right now. I demanded. He looked at me in confusion. Naturally, everyone would look at me like that. No hero would skip the reception and go straight to someone like this. Excuse me, he started. You need to find out if that's an animal feather or one from a person, right now. I insisted, pushing the feather into his hand while conjuring a small flame in my other hand. Did I threaten him? Did I care? We had a kid in the hospital because of something we did. The thought that we had made a huge mistake was something I couldn't accept. As ridiculous as it sounded, I was still in denial. But with each step I took, the ignorance I held was breaking, and the more I was left in uncertainty, the more my bad feeling grew. Are you waiting for an invitation or something? I snapped. No, sir. Sorry, sir. I'll get to work immediately, he stammered. A short time later, I returned, but in those minutes, guilt had been eating away at me. I had accepted the truth and knew my instincts had been right all along. Sir, the results are out, the guy said when I returned. And? I pressed. The feather is a normal raven feather. There was no indication that it is from a person's quirk. In fact, that is out of the question, he explained. With each word he spoke, I felt my face grow paler. We had destroyed a life. He was innocent all along. I was furious with that detective. Sir, is there anything else you need from me? The guy asked. No, I replied, turning away. I took the feather, now in a bag, and headed straight to the hospital. Knowing what I knew made it all the more difficult to face the boy, but that was something Hawks and I needed to do. It wasn't long, only about 2 hours after I left my husband, that I returned to him. And? Hawks asked, his voice tense. He didn't greet me. Instead, he asked a question. That was something I loved about my husband. He knew me all too well. He is innocent, I said, my heart heavy. My God, Dobby. Hawks began, but I cut him off. I know. He nearly died, he continued, his voice strained. I know. I replied, feeling the weight of our actions. So, what do we do now? Hawks asked, desperation creeping into his tone. Find the culprit and the detective, I stated firmly. That's out of the question. But what do we do with him? We can't just leave him be. It's all our fault. Hawks exclaimed. Let's adopt him, I suggested. What if he doesn't accept us? You saw how he ran away, Hawks countered. But we can't just leave him on his own, I insisted. I know, but is this really a good idea? He asked, uncertainty in his eyes. Let's give him space and watch over him for now, I proposed. He won't forgive us that easily. You know that, right? Hawks said, his voice filled with concern. I know. But it's still better if we are close to him and help him out, I replied. I understand, but I fear he will hate us even more, he admitted. Still better than him ending up dead because of us. We can make this right, I urged. No, Dobby. We can't. Do you know what it means for a bird to be robbed of its wings? We basically broke his spirit. Hawks exclaimed, his frustration evident. But you can help him. We can help him get back up, I insisted. How? He asked, his voice softening. He still has a quirk, remember? I reminded him. The ravens? Hawks replied, a hint of hope in his tone. Just then, we heard a knock at the window. Looking out, we saw a couple of ravens trying to get us to open it. To be honest, it was frightening to look at them after knowing we had wronged him. They looked as if they were ready to attack us. Nope. Not gonna let them in, I said firmly. Not a chance. Hawks agreed, his resolve matching mine. Let's train him and give him the chance to be a hero again, I suggested, eager to help. Hawks hesitated, his brow furrowing. Dobby, there's a problem with that. What problem? I asked, my curiosity piqued. He despises heroes because of us, Hawks replied. I cursed under my breath. Sheet. For now, let's adopt him and fill out the paperwork so he can receive better treatment, Hawks proposed. Let's do that, I agreed. After my friend began to irritate me with his family troubles, I decided to lend a hand. It seemed easy enough, and I couldn't comprehend how the number one hero struggled with a child when I had 3 of my own. They were a handful, and without Kurogyri, I would have surely lost my patience by now. As I pondered the situation, my 3 children approached me. My thoughts had drifted to the kid because All Might had invited my family to his upcoming wedding. I can't believe you just threw me out the window. Toga exclaimed, her eyes wide with disbelief. Well, you enjoyed it and I jumped after you to the next level, Shigaraki retorted. That's not an excuse, Crispy. Toga shot back. Stop calling me Crispy, you vampire. Shigaraki snapped. I caught Kurogiri glancing at me, silently pleading for help, and I could only smile in response. I also knew I needed to get him a bottle of wine. The poor babysitter looked like he wanted to put them all in timeout. Enough, I commanded, and just one word from me was all it took for them to quiet down. I have an invitation card to Yagi's wedding, I announced. You're not going to bring them with you, are you? Kurogiri asked, concern etched on his face. He did invite us all, I replied. That's not what you want, believe me. They will ruin the wedding, Kurogiri warned. A wedding? Can I wear a bloody white dress? Toga asked, her excitement palpable. I'm sure you will, I chuckled. You all are going to wear what I prepare for you, or else. Kurogiri declared, sounding both annoyed and angry. It was clear that the children had gotten on his nerves, which was no easy feat. Father, did you hear the rumors? Shigaraki asked, his tone serious. About the person you took care of? I replied, intrigued. It was pretty fun. Can I go after him? I'm sure Red would look so pretty with his green hair, Toga chimed in. Please tell me you didn't leave any traces? Kurogiri pressed. How could they? I instructed them not to mention anything, letting both of them disguise as detectives to ensure they made the kid suffer, I explained. And you think this was a good idea? Kurogiri questioned. Why not? Toga exclaimed. That burned individual was getting too close to us, not to mention the other one as well, Shigaraki added. It's true they managed to gather a lot of information about the League of Villains, but they still didn't grasp the whole situation they were walking into. It's better to deal with them from the start, I reasoned. I get that, but why did you need to make the kid suffer? Kurogiri asked, his voice tinged with frustration. Human wrath is truly magnificent. They tend to believe everything thrown at them far easier than in any normal case. Not only that, but you and I know how sharp they can be. Now they have something else to keep their minds busy, I explained. Kurogiri sighed. It would have been better if we just disposed of them. No. This is much more fun. Toga protested. I enjoy a good game too, Shigaraki added with a smirk. After that, we began discussing the wedding and what attire everyone would need to wear. It was clear that Kurogiri needed to teleport and acquire some decent clothing for us, as well as a present for the bride and groom. I suggest a fine bottle of wine, Kurogiri proposed. How about some games or a new game console? Maybe even a huge TV. Shigaraki suggested. How about we eliminate everyone at the party as a present? Toga chimed in excitedly. No stabby stabby. Kurogiri exclaimed. We can go on a spree after the party, Shigaraki said with a mischievous grin. And ruin Yagi's wedding night? No, I don't think you will be going anywhere, I replied firmly. How about some jewelry? Kurogiri suggested. Yes, that's more like what I was thinking, I agreed. I'll prepare something, Kurogiri said, already planning. I had no idea how long I had been unconscious. All I knew was that I woke up in a hospital room, my memories hazy. The last thing I remembered was lying on the ground, bleeding out while my wings had been cleanly severed. How I ended up in this room was a mystery to me. I also had a terrible headache and felt feverish. I attempted to stand, but a hand on my shoulder stopped me. I turned to see someone I least expected, Hawks. What are you doing here? I shouted, panic rising in my chest. Don't touch me, I added, trying to pull away. Regret washed over me the moment I tried to move. Pain shot through my body, and I gritted my teeth. I could hear angry caws coming from the window. A quick glance revealed that the ravens were ready to protect me, some perched on the windowsill while others hovered in the air. Okay. But don't stand up yet, Hawks said, raising his hands and backing away slightly. Why are you here? I demanded. I know it's wrong what we did and I don't have any right to say this, but I'm sorry, he replied, his voice sincere. Tears welled up in my eyes as I processed his words. How could he say something like that? I'm sorry, felt like a minor excuse for the pain he had caused. Do you even know what you did? I shouted, my voice trembling with anger. We know. And we decided to adopt you, Hawks said, his gaze steady. Wait a moment. Did he say we? And adoption? Say what now? I exclaimed, disbelief flooding my senses. You don't need to accept us. Just know that you now have a place to stay, he explained. Place to stay? What are you trying to say? I demanded, my voice rising. After all you did, how dare you even stand in front of me? Get lost and leave me be. I shouted, my fury boiling over. Hawks looked down, and that was when I noticed Dobby entering my field of view. So that was what he meant by we? The legendary duo in crime. I couldn't believe they were here. Izuku. I was so stupid. If I'd checked the clues, we could have avoided this, Dobby said, his voice filled with regret. What clues? You ruined my life accusing me of something, and now you're telling me you screwed up. I yelled, incredulous. This was ridiculous. Why were they even here? What clues? I don't even know why you did that. My ravens know what happened. I could ask them later if they refuse to tell me. I continued, my irritation mounting. My heart raced as a nurse entered the room and immediately came to my side. Hawks and Dobby exchanged glances, pity evident in their expressions. Why are you looking at me like that? Is this not what you wanted? I snapped. Sir, please calm down, the nurse urged gently. Then throw them out of this room. I demanded. Pardon, she replied, taken aback. I don't want to see them. I insisted, my voice firm. Sir? Is there something wrong? The nurse's gaze shifted between Dobby and Hawks, and I could sense her inclination to blame me rather than comply with my request. This realization only fueled my anger, and my heart raced. What a drama queen, she whispered under her breath. Excuse me? What did you just call me? I shot back, my voice rising. If a patient says they don't want their visitors, they mean it. Now get them out. At that moment, the ravens reacted as a pack, breaking through the window. They swooped in, attacking the nurse with pecks and scratches, pulling her toward the opening. Some targeted Hawks and Dobby, while others surrounded me protectively, preventing anyone from getting too close. We'll leave, Hawks declared. I'm really sorry for what we did. But please calm down, Dobby added. Easier said than done. I snapped, my frustration boiling over. The nurse screamed in pain, and it took me a moment to collect myself. She was perilously close to being dragged out by the ravens. I'm fine. Release her and let the others be. As soon as I spoke, the ravens calmed and obeyed, leaving only 3 behind while the rest flew away. What a nuisance. You should have died instead of being saved by them. Is this how you thank them even after adoption? And then you attack me? This will have consequences. The moment the ravens began to caw and glare at her, the nurse quickly exited the room, leaving me alone with the 2 heroes. Adopted? What had she just said? She returned almost immediately, holding an injection. No! I shouted, and the ravens prepared to defend me, but she wasn't alone this time. 2 other nurses accompanied her, using their quirks to restrain the ravens. Don't touch them, I yelled, ignoring the pain as I stood up from the bed. I ripped off the cables connecting me to the monitoring machines and rushed to save my ravens, who were struggling against the 2 male nurses. What are you doing? If he told us to leave, we should respect that. Dobby protested. This is only for his own good, the nurse insisted. Hawks, listen to me. We'll take the nurse and leave you alone. Can you just lie back on the bed and relax after we go? I could hear the pack of ravens near the window again, ready to attack for my sake. Just let me be alone. Dobby grabbed the nurse by the collar and dragged her out, leaving me with Hawks. See, we want you to get better. We'll visit you tomorrow. Please rest, Hawks said as he left, taking the male nurses with him. I sank to my knees, tears streaming down my face. This was not what I wanted. I craved solitude, yet here were 2 of the last people I wanted to see. Thank you for protecting me, I whispered to the ravens. I'm fine. Yes, it hurts. Just a little longer, and I'll go back to bed. I cried for a while, and once I calmed down, I stood up to lie down. I was exhausted and just wanted to rest. But then I noticed a red feather on the ground. Why? I picked it up and touched it gently. It didn't feel as soft as my lost black feather, but its presence brought me a sense of calm. Despite my dislike for its owner, the feather's beauty made me miss my wings even more. I returned to my bed, lying on my side with the feather in my hand, surrounded by the crows on the floor and close to me on the bed. Hawk's POV. As soon as I left the room, I found Dobby waiting for me. We stepped outside the hospital and headed home. Both of us had taken time off from hero work to be there for him during the day. It was our fault, and we wanted to make it right or at least help him heal. How is he? Dobby asked. Not good. He's crying in the corner. Let me guess, you left a feather? Of course. I just want to make sure he will be okay. We destroyed his life. If it were me, I wouldn't want to see us ever again. No kidding. We should be careful of these crows. Honestly, I fear he might go to the broken window and jump out. There's nothing left for him anymore. We took everything from him. If he dies, I don't know what I would do. How could we be so foolish? I can only hope he won't do anything drastic. Please don't. If it were me, I would wish for our deaths too, so it's no surprise how the ravens acted toward us. I know he hates us. You didn't hear how he pronounced heroes. He hates them all. I feel so bad. I only wish we could reverse time. Same. After our small talk, we went shopping. We had a room to prepare for him, after all. We picked up some things we thought he might like. Since he had wings and we didn't know if he would regain them, I insisted on buying a huge, fluffy bed that felt like lying on a cloud. It took us the rest of the day to decorate his new room. It was close to ours, just in case something happened. Do you think he will like it? Looking at how much you love that bed makes me jealous. Besides, I think he will appreciate this room. Let's go. Before I could finish, a shiver ran down my spine. It wasn't anxiety, it was the feather I left behind. He was touching it, and the sudden connection surprised me. What's wrong? Dobby asked. Izu just took my feather and went to rest with it in his hand. It's a good sign he didn't throw it out. Yeah. Let's visit him tomorrow. Are you sure we should go together? The room is swarming with ravens. Do you think it would be better to go in alone? I don't know. Did you see how he reacted to the nurse and her Quirk? That nurse better get fired. Did you report her? Of course. Who do you think I am? Oh, just some burned chicken nuggets. How about one of us stands guard outside so no nurse can enter while the other is inside with him? Sounds good. Who goes inside? Rock, paper, scissors? Okay. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. I chose rock and Dobby chose paper. He won. I win. I wanted to be the one. Next time, Birdie. Just don't use your flames. I know, I'm not stupid. How about you bring him something to eat too? Hospital food is the worst. Dobby scoffed, as if he would eat something from me. Why not? I asked, genuinely curious. Did you swap your brain with an actual chicken? He shot back. Don't be rude. I retorted, feeling a mix of annoyance and amusement. Just think, he urged. Food is food. If you offered me some chicken, I would accept it no matter who you are, I replied, trying to make my point. You're just being foolish. Someone could literally poison you that way, he warned. True, but who cares? I shrugged. I care. You're my husband, he exclaimed, his tone shifting to one of concern. Thank goodness you're the only one offering me food, I said, relieved. Just don't take random free food, he cautioned again. I know. I was just joking. I laughed. Oh, really now? He challenged, raising an eyebrow. Yeah, just joking. I reassured him. At some point, I fell asleep, though I couldn't recall when. The red feather remained clutched in my hand, and I only released it upon waking. I felt a wave of relief wash over me as I noticed no one had entered my room while I slept. The wires from the monitoring machine lay scattered on the floor. I wonder if I can get out? I mused aloud. I attempted to stand, but a sharp pain shot through my back, causing me to hiss in discomfort. That was a bad decision. I should have known better. It seemed I couldn't get out. But perhaps I could ask the ravens for help. "W," one raven called out. I'm fine," I replied, trying to reassure it. "W," it cawed again. "I just want to get closer to the window and feel that breeze. It feels nice, but I'm sure it would feel even better from there," I explained. Glancing around, I realized I must be on the 3rd floor or higher. "But first, let's move." "Sigh, I can do this," I told myself. "Caw," the raven inquired, tilting its head. "It's okay. You don't need to help me. I should be able to do this. But tell me, do you know what happened?" I asked. "Caw," it replied. "I mean, why am I here?" I pressed. "Caw," it answered. "I know I collapsed. I remember. Losing something important," I continued. The raven tilted its head in confusion, and another raven approached. "W," the 2nd raven called. "Framed? What do you mean I was framed?" I questioned, puzzled. "Caw, "W," it insisted. "By a villain?" "Yes." "W," it confirmed. "You know, you're not making much sense. Can you tell me more than just that I was framed by a villain? Who and why?" I pressed for details. "W," it repeated. "To get rid of me?" "Huh," I exclaimed, piecing together the fragments of information. "W," a 3rd raven joined in. "I've heard enough. It's just pieces, but I have a rough idea of what happened," I concluded. All Might had hired a villain to frame me. That was why Hawks and Dobby were angry with me. Though I longed to know more, I needed some fresh air from the shattered window. Slowly I stood up and approached it. As I got closer, I heard hurried footsteps outside the room, followed by a loud bang as the door swung open. The ravens reacted instantly, flying out of the window in a flurry. "Don't do it," Dobby shouted from the doorway. "I was just near the open window with a raven that landed there," I replied, confused. "What do you mean misunderstanding?" "They shouldn't even be here," the raven cawed in protest. "Get out of the room," I demanded, my patience wearing thin. "Izuku, let me explain," Dobby said, stepping further into the room. "Explain what?" "How you guys destroyed my life. Or how you're here. Better explain how that fool managed to fool you." I snapped. "Both, I guess," he admitted. "No need for that, now get out." I insisted. "Izuku, I know what we did was wrong, but please let me explain," he pleaded. "Are you deaf?" I said, "Get out," I shouted. "Freaking listen when I try to talk," Dobby retorted, frustration creeping into his voice. "No. Did you even listen to me?" I challenged. He fell silent. "Now get out," I demanded again. Dobby sighed. "I'll come back later." "No. I don't want to see you or Hawks," I declared. "Izuku, we both didn't want this," he said, his voice softening. "Oh, too bad because you too did this." My anger flared. A 2nd raven carefully flew to my shoulder, cuddling against me in an attempt to calm my rising fury. But the more I saw Dobby, the more I wanted to lash out. He was the reason for everything that had happened to me. "Izu, I need to tell you something," Dobby said, his tone earnest. "No. All you need to do is leave me alone." I shot back. "I can't do that," he replied, his voice firm. "Oh, you can't? But you wanted me to suffer and never have anything to do with me, and now you can't leave me alone? Don't make me laugh," I scoffed. "Izu, we both adopted you. We know you don't want to see us or have anything to do with us, but Hawks and I want to make things right," he explained. "No, I don't want this. I am better without you. Now out," I shouted. "Kid," he protested. "Out," I echoed. Something felt off. The longer I stood, the more lightheaded I became. I placed one hand on the windowsill to steady myself, but it wasn't enough. My legs buckled beneath me. Dobby rushed forward, catching me before I fell. "Kid?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "Let me go." I struggled against him, hating his touch, but I was too weak to push him away. He lifted me and laid me back in bed before calling for a nurse. "Hawks will come over later," I hope you can give him a chance to explain what happened, Dobby said, his voice laced with hope. And I hope you can just leave me alone and respect my wishes. I shot back. The ravens remained nearby, watching me and Dobby before landing on the bed and snuggling beside me. As Dobby stepped out to find a nurse, I began to pet the raven. I loved ravens. They were such intelligent and graceful creatures. I wished for a swift recovery. This fever was unbearable. It had to be from the stress and blood loss. I wanted to escape, but I needed to grow stronger first. Adopted me? What a joke. I thought bitterly. They realized they had made a mistake and wanted to make it right. Not with me. Not this easily. I wouldn't forgive them. They had nearly killed me. Never. I refused to see them again. I wondered if I could successfully sue them. But where would I get the money for a lawyer? They wouldn't even listen to me or believe me. Who would believe that All Might framed me and that these two fell for it? No one, right? It sounded ridiculous. I wanted to make them pay for what they had done. Guys, go and pay All Might and that villain a visit. Make them pay for what they did. I swear if I get my hands on them, they will wish that Hawks or Dobby found them first. For now, I could only send my crows to carry out my wishes. Suddenly, I felt dizzy and sleepy. I could still hear the pack of ravens outside the window, making noises to confirm their new task. A light smile crept onto my face, happy to know they were still with me. A wave of sleepiness washed over me, and I attributed it to my physical condition as I succumbed to slumber. I was undeniably tired. Despite having slept a lot earlier, I still felt an overwhelming fatigue. My body felt weak, heavy, and hot, alternating between sweating one moment and freezing the next. I realized I had a fever, likely a result of the shock from encountering those two heroes and the blood I had lost. Just before I drifted off again, I felt a hand on my forehead. I recognized the burned skin of the hand and knew it was Dobby's. I could only hope he had come in right after I had given the order. Get better first, Dobby said, his voice steady. Afterwards, you can shout, curse, or hit us for what we've done to you. Just leave me alone. I snapped back, my frustration bubbling to the surface. You have the spirit of a fighter, kid. I know you can recover soon. And after that, you can try to get rid of us. We won't let you go until you're fully healed. Arg. I groaned, feeling the weight of my situation. Just sleep, baby chicken, and get some good rest, he coaxed gently. Burned, I muttered, the exhaustion pulling me under. I could hear him chuckle softly. That was the last thing I remembered before slipping into unconsciousness. Even in my weakened state, I sensed his worry for me. He had messed up, and guilt was gnawing at him, but I had no intention of alleviating his burden. Why should I? They were the ones who had done this to me. Meanwhile, Izuku commanded the ravens, and nearly all of them took flight, searching for All Might and the League of Villains. What Izuku didn't realize, and what the ravens didn't care about, was that today was the wedding of his mother and All Might. On this special day, he had planned a appealing ceremony in a garden. Unfortunately for him, the flock of birds had no intention of halting their mission. Each raven communicated with the others, aiding one another in locating All Might and the League of Villains. Do you wish to take Inko Midoriya as your legal wife and treasure her until the day you die? The priest asked. Yes. All Might replied, his voice filled with conviction. The moment he said yes, hundreds of birds began circling the wedding, forming a dark cloud above them as more crows appeared, darkening the sky. What is going on? Inko asked, her voice laced with confusion. This is a bad omen, the priest warned. Get away. Defo shouted, panic rising in his voice. The notorious villain attempted to use one of his many quirks to control the birds, but his efforts were futile. Izuku's control was far stronger. It became evident to everyone that the birds were intent on violence. It was only a matter of time before they dove from the sky to attack the bride and groom. They began to scratch and tug at their clothes. Inko's appealing white dress became tattered, stained red as the sharp beaks of the creatures tore into it. The bride and groom screamed in horror. The League of Villains and the heroes could not stand idly by. They rushed to help the couple engulfed in a whirlwind of crows. As Inko fell to the ground, All Might used his quirk to make the birds disappear, but the crows reacted with increased aggression, targeting his new and old wounds as well as his face. "W!" one raven screeched. The priest and every civilian began to flee, grateful to not be the primary targets of the attackers. "Toga, go for it," AFO commanded. "But I can't." "But stop it," Toga cried, overwhelmed. The crows began to attack the League of Villains, leaving deep scratches that would surely leave scars. "Kurogyri, get us out," AFO ordered, realizing they needed to retreat. It was the logical choice. If they couldn't fight back, they should regroup. "Ah!" Kurogyri shouted in frustration. No matter where Kurogyri attempted to teleport, the crows either followed him or were already there. He couldn't reach the people to help them escape. In the end, the heroes had to intervene, spraying the birds with water infused with a calming essence. Gradually, some of the crows fell from the sky while others retreated higher. "W!" they cried, circling the mass of heroes and injured individuals. The League of Villains managed to escape, leaving behind only torn pieces of their clothing. No one noticed their departure. AFO cleverly used an illusion quirk to conceal their appearance. When everything settled, everyone was left speechless. No one understood why the birds had suddenly attacked a wedding, specifically targeting the #1 hero and some guests. The answer was clear to the heroes. Someone with a vendetta against All Might wanted him dead. The only question was which villain harbored such a longing. All Might, now consumed with an anger that was almost incomprehensible, was ready to confront whoever was responsible for this chaos. From Hawk's perspective, the moment Dobby stepped out of the room, curiosity nearly compelled me to confront him. I wanted to know how he was doing after attempting to jump out of the window. "And how is he?" I asked, my concern evident. "He wasn't about to jump," Dobby replied, his expression serious. "Huh," I responded, confused. "He just went to the window to feel the wind." "What? Oh, sorry," I exclaimed, realizing my misunderstanding. "But he threw me out and has a fever." "Let's go find a nurse for now," Dobby continued, urgency creeping into his voice. "It must have been too much for him," I said, feeling a pang of guilt. "We are idiots," Dobby muttered, shaking his head. "How about we take him to my agency?" I suggested. Even though we were both working together as a dream team, it was still my agency running under my name. Dobby had never wanted a child, claiming it was too much trouble. However, we had excellent healers nearby, and this was a good opportunity to provide the best treatment possible. "That would probably be a good idea, seeing how he is treated here," Dobby agreed. "Then let's do that," I replied. We informed the doctor, but they hesitated to let him leave the hospital, citing his instability. The truth was they wanted to keep us there. We both understood what he had endured, even if everyone else thought he was just unlucky. We had made him suffer far too much. After some pressure and a little bribing, we finally secured his discharge papers. I took him back to the agency while Dobby went ahead to inform our healers. "Don't worry, Feathers. We will make this right," I said, cradling him in my arms. He felt warm and I could tell he had a bad fever. His mental health was also a concern. He had faced so much in recent months. All I wanted was to make him comfortable and provide the support he needed. "And off we go," I announced, wrapping my coat around him as I carried him to the rooftop. Once we arrived, I took off immediately. He was surprisingly light, which worried me. The flight to my agency was short, and upon landing, I found our healers waiting for us alongside Dobby. "You took longer than expected," Dobby remarked. "Well, I had nurses falling all over the place, begging me to stay," I replied. Dobby sighed. "You and your nurse problems. And you with your charming issues," I teased, giving him a playful smile as I entered the infirmary and gently set our charge down. "Take care of him," I instructed the healers. "We will," one assured me. "Let us know if his condition worsens or improves," I added. "What happened to him?" another healer asked. It felt uncomfortable to discuss, as I still wanted to believe it was all a bad dream. Dobby spoke up. "He lost his wings." "Wings?" the healer echoed. Yes, he had appealing black wings, I confirmed. Should we try to see if we can restore them? The healer asked. Is that even possible? Dabi questioned. That's the question. If his quirk allows us, we could enhance the bone structure of his wing base, the healer explained. It will hurt, and he will need a lot of energy for it, as will we, another added. Is that possible, though? I asked. As we said, if his quirk permits it, the healer replied. But for now, we need to get his temperature down and provide him with nutrition to prepare him for our quirks, the first healer said. Then please do whatever you can, Dabi urged. You two are excused from any other medical incidents, I said. But what about you guys? One healer asked. Don't worry about us. Even if we go to a local hospital, they will give us the best treatment they can, I reassured them. Dabi added. He is a normal citizen who lost his quirk. You know what that means. Poor boy, the healer said softly. After that, we left the healers to their work and returned to our apartment across the street. Once inside, we sat down and reflected on what we had just learned. Our healers are really the best, Dabi said. Remind me to give them a pay rise, I replied. Double it if they manage to help him, Dabi suggested. We need to try to get him back into UA, I said. There's no way he will get in this year, and if next year comes, he'll be eliminated from the list because he'll be a year behind, Dabi pointed out. What if we train him and let him skip to the second year? I proposed. That's a possibility, but remember how he feels about heroes? Dabi reminded me. Oh, right, he hates us and all heroes, I acknowledged. Guess we need to start from square one and try to change his mind, Dabi said. Good luck with that. I laughed. Chicken? He's our son now, Dabi replied. I know, but he resembles us, I said. Not if he regains his wings. Dabi exclaimed. Let's hope, I said. After my wedding was ruined, I decided to take my bride to the hospital. We both looked terrible, but I couldn't just let it go. Someone had destroyed one of the happiest days of my life. My wife was in tears and scared. Honey, you will be safe here, I assured her. Where are you going? Inko asked. To find out who did this to you. I replied. Please don't go. You're injured yourself. You need to get treated, she urged. I will. I just need to talk to my colleagues who are searching for the villain, I said. Please take care of yourself, she pleaded. I will. Don't worry about me, I promised before leaving the room. I didn't want to scream or curse in front of her. I was furious about what had happened, and whoever was responsible needed to be held accountable. They obviously had a death wish to begin with. I hurried out of the hospital, clutching my untraceable phone and dialing a number I hadn't saved for safety reasons. There was no telling if I would lose the phone or if someone would steal it. I couldn't afford anyone discovering my connection to the League of Villains or All for One, the #1 villain. The moment I stepped outside, my dear friend picked up the phone, and I hurried to the nearest alley to get teleported to their base. All for One. My condolences for the ruined wedding. How is she feeling? He asked. Scared. Do you know who did this? I replied. I do. Then why are you still here? I want them dead. No matter what. See to it. Demanded. I want to do it. Toga piped up. Stop squealing. Shigaraki snapped. But I feel like stabbing them. I want to rip their skin off. But the blood looked pretty on the bride. Toga exclaimed. Watch it, Toga, Kurojiri warned. Why? It's true, she protested. All for One, Shigaraki, get her out. Yes, Shigaraki replied. I was so close to getting to the young lady and maybe using my quirk on her too. She loved blood so much after all, so she shouldn't mind an open lip too much. Luckily for her, my friend knew me all too well and made her leave the room. All for One, do you remember that brat you wanted to get rid of? Izuku Midoriya? Don't mention his name to me anymore. Wait, don't tell me he is the one that ruined my wedding. I shouted. Precisely. Where is that kid right now? I'm going to kill him. That won't be possible right now. And why not? Because Hawks and Dabi are taking care of him right now. So you want to tell me that I need to let him go? No. All I am saying is that you need to be patient and let me and my team handle this. Go to your wife and take care of her instead. Leave this to me. No. That boy needs to suffer, and I want to be the one making him regret messing with me. I want to see him suffer. All for one. My friend, do I need to remind you that you are a hero and not a villain by name? So what? He is currently in Hawk's agency. There is no way you will be able to get in and out without anyone noticing you. Not only that, but think about your career and your wife. No one benefits from you going to jail because of that brat. You have a good point there, my old friend. It was moments like this that made me grateful for his presence. The instant I saw my bride's blood, all rational thought fled. My only longing was to find the one responsible. Did I consider the consequences? Not in the slightest. Yet, once he reminded me of them, pursuing the kid felt like an unnecessary hassle. Bring him here and I'll handle it, I insisted. That's a bad idea, he replied. I'll have Toga go after the kid and leave him dead without any trace back to us. I don't like it, I admitted. I know, but it's the best way to deal with him without jeopardizing your career. I understand, but I still don't like it. Time passed, marked by the dreams of an unconscious little bird soaring alongside ravens. I awoke in a disorienting haze, unsure of my surroundings. It was dark, and the room I found myself in bore no resemblance to a hospital. This doesn't smell like a hospital. The space was far too large for that. Had I been abducted? Oh wait. This resembles an infirmary. Raven, I called out, using the name I had given to the crows since they lacked individual names. Typically, I would just call for Raven when I wanted to speak to one. But no bird came to me, and panic began to rise. I slowly sat up in bed and scanned the room. A window revealed the night sky, with only moonlight filtering through. Outside, I spotted a tree filled with blackbirds gazing in my direction. Determined to find out where I was, I swung my legs over the side of the bed. I needed to calm down and ask them for help. As I moved, a sudden, intense pain shot through my back, causing me to collapse, dragging the blanket down with me. What is happening? Why does it hurt so much? It wasn't this painful when I last went to bed. I remembered collapsing and Dobby catching me, gently placing me back on the bed. But why was I here? Arg! I gasped, struggling to breathe through the agony. It was overwhelming, and then I felt it, the base of my wings. I could sense the muscles surrounding them and even managed to move them slightly. With trembling limbs, I opened my wings, or at least the base of them, and turned to see that they had returned. Though still sparse in feathers, they were back. Happiness flooded through me, and I began to sob. I was elated to have them again, knowing I could fly naturally after all this time. In my emotional haze, I didn't notice the red feather on the table, the light that suddenly illuminated the room, or the coat draped around me. I was simply lost in tears, my vision blurred, and nothing made sense. Hey it's okay, Hawk said softly. Does it hurt? Dobby asked, concern etched on his face. Why are you even asking? Get some pain meds, Nugget? Hawk snapped. I could only gaze up at the pro-hero I had once disliked. Despite my reluctance to see anyone, it was comforting to know I wasn't abducted. Hawk stood before me, gently patting my head. I understood he meant well, but I couldn't forget what they had done. It's okay, Hawks reassured me. Moments later, Dobby returned with a pill and a glass of water. Here's some painkiller. Take it. Sob thanks. I managed to whisper. I accepted the medicine, but the pain I felt was excruciating, even amidst my happiness. It was worse than the agony I experienced when my wings were severed or burned. How? I struggled to ask, my voice barely audible. We'll explain everything tomorrow, Feathers. For now, you need to rest. Your body requires it, Hawks said gently. I remained silent. The chicken is right, Dobby added. Don't worry. You're at Hawk's agency, and the two most skilled healers are taking care of you. They helped me back into bed, and the pressure on my back made it clear why Dobby had me lie on my side. The way they looked at me reminded me of my family. My mother had often gazed at me like that when I was hurt or in trouble, especially the first time I got my wings. I had endured a lot while learning to fly again. We'll watch over you, so don't worry about a thing, Hawks promised. Yeah, just rest, Dobby echoed. I closed my eyes, exhaustion weighing heavily upon me, but sleep eluded me. My mind raced with thoughts of what had just transpired. This is a miracle. How is this even possible? My wings. I can have them back. How did they manage this? Is this what it feels like to receive mercy? No, there is no God. Is it luck or fate? Why did I have to endure so much hardship? I suppose you only learn to appreciate what you have after losing everything. Yet, that doesn't make anything right. I won't forgive them for what they've done. Not yet. But I can tolerate them. They returned my wings. Perhaps they aren't so bad after all. Only time will tell. I will keep an eye on them, and the ravens will be my judges. I can trust them. Who knows? Maybe this is what destiny had in store for me. Perhaps this is for the better. Just maybe. I will be loved again and not cast aside. The fear of being discarded was far worse than my hatred for these two heroes. Being alone, with no one to confide in. Unable to ask for help because no one cared. Not even having a warm place to call home. No comforting meals waiting for me, no people who would accept and love me. If that is what I stand to gain, then I will set my hatred aside. Living a life in shadows is not an option for me. Ravens do not exist in isolation, they have their packs. I am human, yet part raven. The feeling of loneliness was driving me mad. My birds were a temporary solace, but not a long-term solution. This is why I would be willing to set my hatred aside, though I would not forgive them. They would need to do more if they expected my forgiveness after this, but I wouldn't harbor hatred anymore. Just like that, I finally drifted off to sleep. Dobby's POV. I was startled awake in the middle of the night by my dear husband, who urgently informed me that Izuku was awake. Quickly rushed to the agency, only to find him lying on the ground, surrounded by an unsettling number of ravens. They had always been present since we moved into the agency, but now they seemed to have multiplied, as if they had been waiting for his awakening. I felt the same way, Hawks admitted, his expression serious. At least he's awake now, I replied, trying to focus on the positive. But he still needs to recover, Hawks reminded me, his brow furrowed with concern. I can't believe this worked out, I said, relief washing over me. Me neither, he agreed, his voice filled with the same mix of disbelief and hope. 2 months had passed since we brought Izuku home from the hospital. During that time, our healers had worked tirelessly to ensure his recovery, and we were overjoyed when their efforts began to pay off. They even mentioned that his quirk seemed to have evolved, as he was healing faster on his own. However, both healers had pushed their quirks to the limit, and we made sure to give them breaks and compensate them generously for their hard work. As we left the building and headed home, Hawks suddenly stopped in his tracks, our hands still intertwined. "What's up, chicken?" I asked, puzzled. "We need to go back," he exclaimed, urgency lacing his voice. "But is something wrong with Izuku?" I questioned, my heart racing. "He's not alone," Hawks replied, his eyes wide with alarm. "What? No one should have access to that area of the agency since you locked it down. It's off limits to everyone, and our healers are on vacation due to their quirk drawbacks. Plus, it's a national holiday, no one should be there." My mind raced as I processed his words. Letting go of his hand, I urged him, "Go ahead." Hawks took off, and I sprinted toward the building, my mind racing with worry. Who would be foolish enough to break in? Surely, they couldn't be after Izuku. Just then, a flock of ravens flew toward me, as if warning me of impending danger. I needed to reach him, fast. My heart ached for our adoptive child. Though not a child in age, he had endured so much, and the guilt weighed heavily on me. Upon arriving at the building, I heard the sound of shattering glass and looked up to see Hawks battling a strange bird-like creature with exposed brain and bat wings. Ravens swarmed into the room through the broken window, and my anxiety for Izuku intensified. It all clicked into place. We had been deceived into believing he had harmed our son. The raven's reaction at the wedding only confirmed it. Someone he knew was after him, aware of his vulnerability. I realized the person responsible for all this must be in the same room with him now. Izuku! I shouted, rushing inside. I dashed straight for the infirmary, only to find Izuku standing there, his wings now completely black and fully healed. His feathers were long and fluffy, a testament to the evolution of his quirk. It seemed the pain he had endured had enhanced his healing ability. Not only was he standing, but he was also commanding the ravens around him. Two figures, a man covered in hands and another person, were in the room with him, but before I could process further, someone teleported behind him. "Izuku, behind you!" I cried out. As if he sensed the danger, he flapped his wings and soared just out of reach of the attacker. I launched a fireball toward the assailant, trusting that Izuku would dodge it. However, as I watched him flap his wings, I noticed blood dripping from them, and he began to descend, looking exhausted and in pain. Thankfully, this gave me enough time to position myself in front of him and unleash my flames against the villains. One managed to escape, but the other, a girl, was foolish enough to approach, attempting to stab us. I heated her blade with my flames, forcing her to drop it before I subdued her. I could see the ravens surrounding Izuku, guarding him fiercely. Once I ensured the girl couldn't escape or attack us, I turned back to Izuku. He was trembling, fragile like a leaf, and I rushed to him, wrapping my arms around him carefully, avoiding his newly healed wings. "You don't have to worry about anything. You're safe. You're with me," I reassured him. As soon as I touched him, he collapsed. I quickly caught him, gently lowering him to the ground beside me. I knew Hawks was capable and powerful, but my priority was to calm Izuku while the ravens kept the villains at bay. "Izuku!" I called softly. He didn't respond, his shock evident. The sudden healing of his wings must have overwhelmed him. I held him tightly, hoping to soothe his trembling. He responded to my embrace, placing his hand on mine and burying himself deeper into it. "It's okay, Izuku. We've got you. You're safe. No one is going to hurt you. Just calm down," I whispered. It took some time, but I could hear the distant wail of police sirens growing louder, indicating that Hawks had alerted them. He had managed to drive the monster out of the sky. "Come on, let's get you out of here," I urged. I removed my coat and wrapped it around him, then carefully lifted him into my arms. He was still crying and shaking, but he didn't resist, burying his face into my chest. He was clearly in shock and terrified. Whatever had transpired before our arrival had left him in a daze, compounded by the pain he was feeling. "Izu, I'll bring you home. Don't worry about a thing," I promised. With Hawks dealing with the police and the villain, I opted for the back entrance, the agency's escape route, and slipped out with my son in my arms. It didn't take long to reach home and settle him into his new room. He fell asleep almost immediately from exhaustion. "Rest, Izu, you need it," I whispered as I placed him gently on his bed, ensuring he was comfortable. Before leaving, I opened a small window for his ravens. Hawks took a while to return, but I had chicken nuggets ready for him. I knew there was no chance Izuku would wake up anytime soon. "How is he?" Hawks asked as he entered. I found him trembling in shock, but he has his wings back, I replied. "What?" he exclaimed, disbelief etched on his face. "Yes, but he's hurt. You should check on him later, but for now, let him rest." "What happened?" I explained. "You know that villain I fought?" he asked, his tone serious. "The monster?" I replied, recalling the chaos. "No, I mean the 3 people in the room," he clarified. "The handyman, the psycho, and the teleportation guy?" "Yes." "Yes," he confirmed. "What's with them?" I inquired, my curiosity piqued. "That's the League of Villains," someone said, their voice laced with urgency. "They are under direct orders from All for One, or so the rumors say." "Sheet. How did he get into such trouble?" another voice replied, filled with concern. "I don't know," came the response. "After I took the girl to the police station, I came right back. That creature just dropped dead at some point during the battle. It was really strange. The investigator said we could come back tomorrow to ask our questions. I want to know why they did that." "I don't know, but that wasn't the weirdest part." "Huh. Did you hear about a pack of ravens attacking a wedding?" Say what? Well, when I got to the police station, they told me they were investigating a wedding that was ruined by hundreds of ravens. Don't tell me you think it was him. I think he, or more like the ravens, knows something we don't. That makes sense. But one thing is for sure, they want him dead. What do you mean dead? When I got there, our dear villains tried to stab him and won. Even attempted to touch him with his bare hand. He had a disintegration quirk. I tried to attack him with my feathers, and they ended up as dust. Say what? Well, as I was getting close, they put that thing on me. I'm glad you're okay, or I would have dealt with them myself. Hey, I'm your only chicken. Sorry, my bad. A moment of silence passed before one of them spoke again. Can we spend the night with Izu? I was just about to suggest the same thing. They gathered blankets and pillows, making themselves comfortable on the floor as they watched over him, fearing something might happen. Ravens were already inside, nearly covering the entire floor as they kept vigil. I woke up in a bed much softer than the one in the infirmary. My back ached, and I felt something fluffy near my face. This room wasn't my own. After a moment, I sat up and looked around, spotting Dobby and Hawk sleeping on the floor. For some reason, I smiled at them. You guys really are a cute couple. Though that doesn't mean I forgive you. Come to think of it, you saved me again, chicken. I can't believe a group of strangers was about to kill me. I really thought I was done for. Why would they even attack me? Do I know them? As I sighed, my shoulders dropped, and I heard the rustle of wings brushing against fabric. It surprised me and hurt a lot, prompting me to look at them. Are those? No way. My wings. Tears began to fall down my cheeks. I was overjoyed to see them again. When I tried to move them, pain shot through me, but I could see them moving, which filled me with happiness. The ravens around me regarded me with soft gazes. I slowly stood up from the bed, feeling suffocated in the room, and carefully walked out, not wanting to wake Hawks or Dobby. I longed to feel the wind on my wings again, so I headed for a window. They had both saved me yesterday, and I could tell by how they embraced each other in their sleep that they needed rest. I just wanted to find a window to open and feel a breeze on my skin and feathers again. As I approached the window, a red feather flew in front of me, blocking my way. It swirled around, preventing me from opening the door to the balcony. Where do you think you're going, Feather? Hawks yawned. Hearing his voice, I quickly turned and backed away. My body remembered the pain his feathers had caused when they pierced my wings during our first encounter. The raven that followed me puffed its feathers, threatening Hawks. I stammered. It's okay, Hawks said, raising his hands in a placating gesture. I didn't want to startle you. I watched him retrieve that feather of his. It's okay. I was just surprised to see you walk out of the room. How are you feeling? I just wanted to open the window and I didn't want to disturb you guys sleeping. I see. Can I come close to you? I would rather be alone. Fine by me. But you just woke up, so how about we eat some breakfast and I get that sleeping beauty out of your room afterwards? I remained silent. Are you okay? I wasn't. My wings were back. I didn't want to lose them again. You and your stupid husband ruined my life only to save me and give me back what you took from me. How is that fair? How did I deserve this? Is this considered normal? In no way was anything I experienced normal at all. I want to be left alone. Is that too much to ask for? I need to sort out my feelings and my thoughts. I am so confused right now. Someone is after me, and I know exactly who it is. I remained silent. I know yesterday must have been rough, Hawks said gently. Oh, you have no idea. I whispered. Then tell me. You heard that? I am not deaf, and being a hero means that we have our senses sharpened. I sighed again. Want to talk about it? I would rather not. But you know it could help you sort out your thoughts. I don't know. For now, I hate you guys, but I don't wish you harm. Thanks for saving me. There is also the thing of a certain someone wanting me dead. Should I tell him? He will think that I am making things up. No problem, Feathers. And hey, I'm fine with that. After all, There is really nothing we could say to make things better for what we have done to you. Now hold on. A certain someone wants you dead. Sounds like you know who. He raised an eyebrow at me, and I started to look down at the ground. One of my ravens stood between us, ready to strike at any moment. So, who's it? Hawks pressed. All Might. You mean the #1 hero? I didn't think he would say that. Does that mean he believes me? Yes. Do you know why? He hates me and wanted to marry my mom. Marriage? So the crows attacking a wedding was your doing? I don't know about that. Suddenly, my stomach growled loudly, and I felt embarrassed as I heard Hawks chuckle. Let's talk over this after breakfast. Now come on. Let's get some food. With that, we both headed to the kitchen, where he instructed me to sit down while he prepared something for us. He also dispatched his feathers, and I watched as they carried Dobby into the room. He was still sleeping, and before I could ask what he was doing, Hawks dropped him unceremoniously to the ground. Dobby stared in disbelief. What the heck? Hawks shrugged, a smirk on his face. That's on you for not wanting to wake up. Why couldn't you just come into the room and shake me awake? Dobby retorted, frustration evident in his tone. Because last time you tried to roast me. Hawks shot back, crossing his arms. Last time, you also tried to get me out of bed at 3 in the morning, Dobby reminded him. That was because we were asked to go on a mission. Hawks defended himself. Dobby rolled his eyes. Says the one who needed an hour to get his breakfast afterward. Yes, and breakfast is my life source, you know that. Hawks replied, a hint of indignation in his voice. I couldn't help but snicker at their bickering. It was amusing to listen to them. Who would have guessed you could make such an angelic expression when you smile? Dobby remarked, a smirk creeping onto his face. Seriously, you should smile more often, Hawks added, nodding in agreement. Huh. I interjected, confused by their sudden compliments. Well, it was certainly worth being thrown to the ground, Dobby said, his tone lightening. Huh. I echoed, still trying to process their words. As I watched Hawks pull out his phone and snap a picture, I realized I was still smiling. It had been ages since I had done that. Anyway, breakfast is ready, Hawks announced, breaking the moment. Are you okay with us eating together, Izu? Dobby asked, a hint of uncertainty in his voice. Why not? I replied, shrugging. After what we did and everything. You know. Dobby pressed, his expression serious. Don't get me wrong. I still haven't forgiven you guys, but I won't throw a fit just because you're close to me. I still don't approve of you adopting me and everything, but I know there's nothing I can do about it now. Besides, you saved me yesterday. I trailed off, my mind racing. Come to think of it, why did you even do that? They began to explain what had happened with their son, showing me a picture of the adorable little boy. There was no excuse for their earlier reactions. Anyone would have acted similarly. I found myself torn. They treated me better than my own family after everything that had happened, yet I knew they were the cause of my pain. It was hard to stay angry at them. If I had lost my own son or anyone from my family like they did, was sure I would have lost myself and sought revenge. I considered myself lucky that they hadn't harmed me. How could All Might do something like this to such a young child? What was in his heart? I couldn't believe he had done it on purpose. How could a hero ask villains for help? Now I understood why they had attacked me, and it made it even harder to remain angry. It was difficult to find words to describe their loss. I shared my own experiences with All Might and my mother. Afterward, Hawks concluded that the Crow's aggressive reaction toward the League of Villains and All Might indicated a connection. Just then, a crow cawed in response, and I began to receive missing pieces of information from them. So All Might is working with All for One, and he's the one who wants me dead, while the League of Villains is just helping him out. And Hawks and Dobby were getting close to the League, so they decided to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I summarized, piecing it all together. Caw, the raven confirmed. Dobby looked impressed. I'm still amazed at how you can communicate with them. Well, at least now we know who's after you, Hawks said, relief evident in his voice. But how do we prove that? Dobby asked, concern creeping in. Caw, the raven called again. You can? I asked, intrigued. What did the bird say? Dobby inquired. He told me he can inform me when All Might meets the League of Villains again and where, so we can catch him red-handed, I explained, excitement building. That would be amazing, Hawks agreed. Then let's do that. I declared, determination in my voice. Caw. The raven responded enthusiastically. I was still processing everything when my child returned without the lunatic, and the babysitter looked guilty as I approached. What happened? I asked, even though I already had an inkling. I wanted them to share the details, hoping it would prompt reflection on their actions. I had a quirk that allowed me to spy on people I knew, and they were aware of it too. Kurogiri spoke up first. We were surprised by the hero's and the boy's quirk. His quirk? I mused, trying to remember. All I could recall was them losing Toga. I knew they were also caught off guard by Hawks when they attempted to stab and disintegrate him. The ravens had attacked fiercely. There was little anyone could do against them. Sensei, he had his wings back. Why didn't you tell us? Tamura exclaimed, disbelief coloring his tone. Wings? That's new. I thought, trying to piece together the puzzle. I could only remember the ravens and my team, not the child. Had his quirk evolved to such an extent? It was possible, but why would it make him invisible to spying quirks? Why didn't you tell us beforehand? Tamura pressed, frustration evident. Are you questioning me right now? I shot back, my patience wearing thin. No, Sensei, he replied, lowering his gaze. Kurogiri, however, saw through my facade and began to explain. He had huge black wings when we arrived. The moment we got close to him, he woke up and attacked us. He threw a chair at me. Tamura added, incredulous. He also flipped the bed toward Toga. So be thankful for that chair, Kurogiri said, a hint of amusement in his voice. Tisk. Tamura scoffed. He put up quite the fight, and when we finally managed to pin him down, Hawks came in, Kurogiri continued. I can't believe the Nomu didn't manage to get him. Tamura exclaimed. I told you not to teleport for help, and you still dared to do that? I admonished Kurogiri. It was necessary to get the boy and get out, he replied defensively. Now we at least know he is the one commanding the ravens, Tamura said, his expression shifting to one of determination. Yes, I agreed, still processing the implications. Anyway, after that, I'm sure you know what happened, Kurogiri said, looking at me expectantly. I still want to hear it, I insisted. The ravens got us, and that burned villain came in too. There was no way we could escape with him. Tamura explained, frustration evident in his voice. I see, I replied, nodding. What are we to do with Toga? Kurogiri asked, shifting the focus. Get All Might here. He might be able to get her a key and some blood to help her get out, I instructed. I understand, Kurogiri said before disappearing, leaving Tamura and me to wait for All Might. I could see that what had happened weighed heavily on my dear child. He hated losing above all else. Yet one must admit defeat sometimes to rise and make an even bigger comeback. Time passed, aided by a raven relaying information about All for One and All Might's situation. It wasn't long before All Might arrived. All Might, my dear friend, I greeted him warmly. My old friends, how can I help? He replied, his voice booming with familiarity. Toga was captured, and I need you to get her out, I said, urgency in my tone. I always knew she would be the first to get captured. So what happened? All Might asked, concern etched on his face. Yesterday was a good time to attack and eliminate your troublemaker, I explained. That kid? All Might exclaimed, disbelief evident in his eyes. Yes, I confirmed. I assume he is dead then, All Might said, his tone grave. Not quite. He is still alive, I replied, my heart racing at the implications. All Might looked at me, his brow furrowed with concern. Then what happened? I thought you said I should let you handle everything. I sighed, recalling the events that had unfolded. I sent them to deal with the boy once and for all, but his quirk evolved. And once again, I found myself recounting the story of what happened to him. What we both didn't know at that time was that we were being spied on by ravens. It was clear that All Might was not pleased with my revelation. Who would do that? The kid managed to get one of us captured. So how do you expect me to get her out? He asked, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Easy, I replied. I created a universal key that should unlock her cuffs and allow her to escape the building. I also have some blood from a police officer prepared just in case something like this happens. I need you to deliver it to her and create a distraction in front of everyone else. Should be easy enough, he said, a hint of determination in his tone. Thank you for helping us out, I said, grateful for his support. No problem. You would do the same for me after all, he replied with a reassuring smile. After that, we settled down together and began catching up. He shared news about his wife and her condition, revealing that she was pregnant with his child, a fact neither of them had known until now. I felt a surge of happiness for him, knowing that the child would be a symbol of his love. There was also a good chance I would visit the child and help enhance their quirk. I want you to be the child's godfather, All Might declared. Are you sure about that? Best, surprised. Yes, he affirmed. In that case, I would be happy to take on that role, I said, feeling honored. Tamura chimed in, so I'll have a little brother then. Or sister, Kurojiri added. Not long after we finished breakfast, a raven arrived with news. It called? Thanks, I murmured, acknowledging the bird. Don't tell me it's already time, Dabi said, his tone skeptical. Well, apparently they want to get Toga out. Whoever that is, I replied. Ah, that's the girl we captured, Hawks interjected. So the League of Villains, Dabi remarked. They want to get her out, and All Might is currently with them. I explained. Perfect. Then let's go and capture them. Hawks exclaimed. No one would believe us if we brought him in, though, I countered. The kid is right, chicken, Dabi said, crossing his arms. They will with proof, Hawks insisted. You want some audio file? I asked. Better. Can we strap a GoPro on one of the ravens? Hawks suggested. I think we can. What do you say, Raven? Asked the bird. It responded. He says yes, I confirmed. We quickly attached the GoPro that Hawks had brought around the raven's neck. The bird was cooperative, allowing us to proceed without any issues. Once we finished, I released it and instructed it to fly ahead. Now let's go. I can't wait to have him in jail for all he did. I said, my excitement palpable. Wow, not so fast there, Feathers. You are staying here. Hawks interjected. But. I protested. No buts. Your wings were injured yesterday, and we still didn't clean them up. I don't want you to get more hurt, he insisted. He's right, kid. You gave us quite a fright with that high fever of yours. It's not even a day ago that you woke up, and you want to head into a dangerous situation. Not with us, Dabi added firmly. You can't do this, I argued. Watch us. Dabi shot back. There's no need for you to come with us. I promise we will get them, Hawks assured me. Just rest, Dabi said, his tone leaving no room for argument. They both stood up, and despite my struggles, they wouldn't let me go with them. Hawks used his feathers to block my exit, and together with Dabi, they set off to confront the villains. I was left alone, but they couldn't stop me from leaving the apartment. As if I would stay here, I muttered defiantly. I approached the window, only to find it locked. I tried all the other windows and doors, but they were all secured. Well, you made me do this, I exclaimed, frustration mounting. With no other options, I grabbed a chair and slammed it against the window I deemed the best choice for my escape, one that led to the balcony and would be easier to repair. The glass shattered, and I climbed outside, trying to cage me in. You can't hold me back from meeting them, I shouted into the open air. Though my wings still throbbed with pain, I had taken a painkiller earlier, making the discomfort bearable. CW? The raven inquired as if checking on me. I'm sure. I need to go there, I replied, determination fueling my words. The only question now was whether my newly healed wings could actually carry me. I felt a mix of anxiety and resolve. You can do this. I know I can. Just open your wings and flap. I had learned to fly when I was 6, so I should know how to do this. Please, just don't give up on me. Inhale. Here goes nothing. Exhale. Gathering my courage, I ran toward the balcony and jumped over the railing. It was only then that I realized we were on the top floor of a 13-story building. Maybe jumping out wasn't the best idea, but it was my only chance to get into the air. I began to plummet, the ground rushing toward me, while the ravens soared after me. I struggled to open my wings, pain shooting through me, but halfway down, I managed to spread them and glide through the sky. I knew I needed to flap, but the pain was so intense that I chose to glide instead. Unfortunately, that wasn't a sustainable option. This hurt. Not even the painkillers helped. Gosh, I hate this. But I need to go there. I have a bad feeling. Something will happen to them. My instincts were strong, a gift from my animal side. Hawks should have similar instincts, but as a trained hero, he might be too reckless to heed his own gut feelings. I couldn't ignore mine. I knew the feeling of being wingless, and I didn't want him to experience that. It was as if someone had stripped away your freedom. If they were facing all for one, they would need all the help they could get. That was why I was flying toward the only place I knew would assist me, no matter what, the home of my dear friend Shinso. Though I still felt a sense of betrayal, there was no time to dwell on it. I needed help. The police or any other hero wouldn't believe me, but if it were Hitoshi, perhaps he would. It took me about 5 minutes to reach their house, and as I landed, I felt blood dripping from my wings. It was certainly not a good sign, but there were more pressing matters to focus on for now. Once I landed, I approached the door and rang the doorbell, my anxiety mounting as I waited. Surrounding me were hundreds of ravens, some circling the house, others perched on tree branches, and a few even on the ground. Please be there, I thought, ringing the doorbell again, impatience gnawing at me. Finally, the door opened to reveal my old teacher, Aizawa, his eyes wide with surprise. I need help, I said urgently. Before he could respond, I quickly explained my situation. I knew he despised wasting time, and I didn't have any to spare. Show who's there. I heard my call from inside. Please. I don't know who else to turn to. Tears streamed down my cheeks as the pain I felt became overwhelming. I was pushing my body too hard. Problem child, come in, Aizawa said. No. There's no time for that. Please, can you come with me or Mike? Just then, Mike appeared at the door, and upon seeing me, he screamed at the top of his lungs. Oh my God! What happened to you, little listener? Hitoshi rushed to the door, concern etched on his face. I felt like I was about to collapse. Please. I begged, desperation creeping into my voice. But as I stood there, I realized I might have made a mistake coming here. I was wasting time. I shouldn't even be here. Why had I bothered them? They would only send me to a hospital given how I looked right now. I'm sorry for bothering you. This was a bad idea, I said, starting to back away. Ignoring the pain in my wings, I began to flap them. It took me 2 tries to get into the air, but Aizawa was using his quirk on me, trying to stop me. Problem child. Get down. He commanded. I can't. They need help. I replied, slowly flying away. Behind me, I heard Hitoshi calling my name and Aizawa and Mike shouting for me to come back. But I couldn't stop, I needed to go. As I flew, my ravens formed a protective circle around me. However, the pain became too much and I started to fall. Please, not now. Not this close to them. I needed to be there. I plummeted toward a rooftop, instinctively closing my wings around me as I braced for impact. But instead of hitting the ground, I felt arms wrap around me, and I recognized the familiar presence. When he let go, I found myself sitting on the floor, my wings spread out lifelessly. Explain now, Aizawa demanded. I can't. There's not much time. Why? Hitoshi asked. Hawks and Dabi need help. If it's those two, they don't need any help. They've got their backs, Aizawa replied. Not against All Might and All for One. Please help them. I was shaking from exhaustion, and Hitoshi and Aizawa crouched in front of me, checking the damage to my wings. I felt the blood and knew it wasn't good. You are not going anywhere. Aizawa insisted. But, Aizu, you can't. Hitoshi added. I must. Aizawa sighed. Where are they? I'll go. Toshi, stay with him. The ravens will lead you there, I said. You can control them? Aizawa asked. Yes. Send one to Mike and let him come too. With that he started running, following a raven. A few minutes later, Mike arrived, and Hitoshi instructed him to follow the raven without asking questions, which he did. Now it was just the two of us on the rooftop. What really happened to you? Hitoshi asked. A lot, I replied with a sigh. We have time. I was framed for killing someone, and that someone was Hawks and Dabi's son. Their son? You killed? Who believes that? Hitoshi exclaimed. They came after me and that's... Oh. He didn't need me to tell him I'd lost my wings. A glance was enough. Then who framed you? Hitoshi pressed. All Might, I said. Now I understand why you came to us. No one would have believed me if I said All Might, the number one hero, and All for One, the number one villain, were working together. I thought you would since I trusted you too and believed in you when no one else did. That was a good conclusion. I definitely do. Hitoshi replied. We need to go there too. They need help. I insisted. How do you know? He asked. All the crows and ravens are telling me that. I slowly stood up, and Hitoshi helped me regain my footing. It was pointless to fly since it hurt too much, so we both ran and jumped from rooftop to rooftop until we arrived in front of an abandoned building with a bar. Papa! Hitoshi shouted. As we arrived, we saw Mike being thrown through a brick wall, breaking it and landing on the street. A creature approached him in a rather odd and fast manner. Kill it! I commanded the birds around me. The creature didn't feel human but wild, so I decided that before we lost a hero, I would rather have a kill count. The ravens and crows obeyed my call and charged at the creature, bringing it down. Hitoshi and I descended from the rooftop and rushed toward Mike. Little listener. Toshi, why are there two of you? Megastes. Looks like he has a concussion, I replied. Agreed, but what should we do? Hitoshi asked. I looked at a small flock of ravens and instructed them to stay with Mike to protect him. I knew what they were capable of doing, and we had just seen that as hundreds of blackbirds killed a monster in under 3 minutes. Let's go inside, I urged. Once Hitoshi and I entered, we saw Hawks fighting another creature, Dabi confronting All Might, and Aizawa facing off against All for One. There was also a warp portal and another guy who were being kept busy by my ravens and crows. Hitoshi immediately went to help his father, and I decided to assist Dabi. After all, I had an open bill with All Might. The moment I got the chance, I flapped my wings and flew straight at All Might. This time, I had my full speed and took him by surprise. A few ravens followed me, and together we made him fall to the ground, pinning him down while I stood on his chest. I knew he was much stronger than I was, but he couldn't escape all the pitch-black birds. Missed me? I taunted. Be sturdy. All Might shouted. And here I thought you would be happy to see me again. Taking the hint, Dabi let me handle All Might. He didn't have much choice after all. There were far too many birds blocking him from coming toward me. From the corner of my eye, I could see him run toward Hawks to help his partner. This will be your end. All Might threatened. We'll see about that. I replied defiantly. I noticed him moving slightly and immediately took to the air. He reached out to grab me, but my crow bit him, causing him to scream in pain. I watched as he prepared to throw a punch, and having studied heroes for so long, I understood the kind of gust of wind he could generate. Calculating my timing, I flew in circles before stopping midair, ensuring that the gust would hit All for One and not me or anyone else. My plan worked, which only served to infuriate All Might further. Fortunately, just as he attempted to attack me again, Hawks and Dabi arrived and subdued him. To my surprise, they had a Quirk cancellation collar with them, which they promptly placed around All Might's neck. See? I told you that thing is useful, Hawks remarked. Cuffs are better, Dabi replied. Well, sorry if they didn't have any left, Hawks shot back. Ravens, watch over him. I commanded. Izuku, what the heck are you doing here? We told you to stay at home. Hawks exclaimed. You did, but I never agreed to that. You can't cage me in. I retorted. Well, at least you got help, Hawks conceded. Did you tell them? Dabi asked. Kinda, I admitted. And they believe you? Dabi pressed. I have a history with their son Hitoshi. So yeah, I explained. History as in a relationship or a friendship? Hawks inquired. As in a close friend who helped him through tough times, I clarified. Oh, why do you sound as if that was in the past? Hawks questioned. I believe now is not the time to question me. I snapped. He's right. Though your birds are doing most of the work. Dabi added. There is still all for one. I reminded them. You stay here and just command them. Hawks instructed. Got it. I agreed. It wasn't as if I could have done anything else. I felt terrible, so in the end, I could only watch as they brought all for one down while I directed my birds to attack and protect. They were a tremendous help. Without them, we would have faced many more opponents at once. All for one finally succumbed to Aizawa's scarf, entwined with red feathers, and Hitoshi's control, along with my ravens constantly attacking and wounding him. Thanks to this, Dabi was able to use his flames as a distraction and place a collar on all for one as well. Once the fight ended, we had one defeated foe on the ground and another subdued. Aizawa called the police, and within 5 minutes, the area was swarming with heroes, police cars, and medics. By that time, I had completely collapsed. I had pushed my body too far, but at least I felt satisfied with what we had accomplished. No one was going to keep me down. I would never lose hope or give up that easily. When I next woke up, I found myself lying in a hospital bed. Izu, how are you? Hawks exclaimed, bombarding me with questions. Let him sit up first, Dabi suggested. But you know what the doctor said. Hawks protested. I do, but you saw it with your own eyes. His quirk healed him. Dabi countered. That you're right. Hawks conceded. Pff. I laughed. What's so funny? Hawks says. Both of you. Can't you just let me wake up completely first? I replied. You sound wide awake, Dabi noted. Oh, well now I am. What happened? I asked. You collapsed right before the police arrived, Hawks explained. I remember hearing them and seeing them in a blur. I said. You overdid it, Dabi stated. Sounds about right, I admitted. Never do this again. Hawks warned. I can't promise that, I replied. I swear this child. Hawks exclaimed. You mean our child, Dabi corrected. Yes. He's just. Don't risk your well-being anymore. Hawks insisted. How about we keep him close to us? Dabi suggested. How about we take him in as an intern? Hawks proposed. Or how about we make him a hero and have him work for us? Dabi added. Huh. I pondered. Yep, we'll do that. Hawks declared. Wow, hold on. I am not a hero. I protested. You are by our definition, and besides, we got you a hero license already, Hawks said. What do you mean? I asked, confused. After capturing all for one, we demanded a hero license for you since it was your doing, and we wouldn't have captured him without you, Dabi explained. They didn't want to give it to us at first, but you know us. We always get what we want, and so here it is. Hawks added. But there is this condition that you must intern with us for 3 years before going out on your own. Dabi warned. No UA, no school. We'll train you our way. You get first-hand experiences, Hawks clarified. Well, that is if you are still interested in it, Dabi said. I teach him. Yes. I exclaimed. See? I told you he still is one at heart. Hawks said triumphantly. Yup, just like us. We'll train you to be the best hero out there, and we will also make sure that something like the past won't happen again, Dabi assured me. So what shall we call you? Hawks says. Lunaris. I declared. I thought you would go with pitch or darkness or something. Why dream? Dabi questioned. Because it has always been my dream, and even after I lost everything, I still didn't give up. The moon gives hope and light in the night, just like my father did, I explained. Your father? Hawks asked, intrigued. He was a vigilante. I revealed. It is a wonderful name, and I am sure he would be proud of you. Dobby said warmly. Just like we are. This was how I became the hero I always wanted to be. Dad, I hope you are watching over me from heaven. I finally fulfilled our promise. I am a hero now. And I'll protect everyone like you did. I'll continue to make you proud, just watch me. Ox proclaimed.